We are live. It is Sunday, October 15th. If you're watching on YouTube, timestamps will be below in the description, and I will see you there for your channel timeless reading, of course. And otherwise, we're just going to hang out and see when people show up. We're going to, oh my God, I'm having trouble with this intro. We're going to hang out live as people show up and hang out with them. So let's do this thing for the house good. What's the highest and best that could happen today? Hey, Divine. Oh, Megan. Hi. I think that's Megan. Hi, Divine Healing. Hi there. Hey, baby doll. Okay, cool. I thought I recognized it, but I thought I recognized the username and your oh my gosh, your user icon, but ooh, she's getting in that groove today. I feel like I'm having trouble with this intro to the live. Not sure why, but I'm sure it will smooth out soon. Hey, Leo, good to see ya. Regina Robinson, good to see ya. Looking forward to the new meditation. Heck yeah. Abundance, love, joy. Been loving your recent downloads from storage, profoundly shifting. Perfect. Super glad to hear it. Always part of the reason for those, for sure. So I'm really appreciate the feedback, and I'm really glad to hear it. Absolutely. Hey, Dana. Favorite part of Sundays? That means so much. I really appreciate it. Ali, how are you doing? Felicia Shirley, hi. How's Brandon doing? Well is the word I get when I read that question, which is good. Doing well overall. Fighting through the burdens of life. No, I'm just kidding. We don't need to put life, we don't need to put that on life, do we? Highlight of my week. That means so much, guys. I for sure appreciate it. And what's the best way to say this? I was going to say I couldn't do this without you. And I think that's true because if you guys weren't here, I wouldn't have a reason to show up and do this. So I really appreciate getting to do this for you guys. And I appreciate you guys receive what's for your highest good from it. And it has an impact. And I get to have an impact with you guys through what you are willing to receive, I guess is the right way to say it. I don't know whatever the best wording for that is that, creates the highest and best outcomes and is good. That or better. Hey, Jenna. Hey, Zaza and Kitty. I actually have not watched the Never Ending Story, but I'm wondering if maybe now will be the time or sometime soon. Happy lunar return. It's a lunar return. Ooh. Melissa, hey Brandon, can you please bold or do block letters for the signs? It's kind of hard to read on YouTube. Yeah, I will definitely get on that. Probably for the next live because I've already started this one. Unless we want to do like let's make a sign together portions of the live here. Which reminds me, I actually need to pull those out. But yeah, no, I think that's fair. I really appreciate that feedback so I can help make this a better experience. Sean, hi, the Ease channel message was amazing. Awesome. I'm so super glad to hear it. I was really wondering what was going to come through for that one. I know I loved the transmission when I rewatched it, but I'm super glad to hear that you loved it as well and that it was helpful. Yes, because the moon's in Scorpio, so you're having lunar return. Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll do it. Thank you for reminding me of that, Dana. My moon time has come. I'm actually not very familiar with what lunar returns mean, but I'll have to probably look into that and what that all entails. probably after the live. The Ease transmission is a daily listen. Dang, that's awesome. That's super cool. I should probably do more of those on YouTube. I use them as monthly birthdays. Okay, cool. No, that's cool. Yeah, I'll look more up about like what some of those moon positions entail, because I'm not super familiar with that specific part of astrology. Probably a bunch more uncomfortable feelings to work through, but it could be much better. Well, we'll see. Okay. Makes so much sense because all my big 3 plus 2 more planets are in Scorpio. All right, there you go. Cool. I'm glad Avery got something out of that too. So we're gonna do like our probably our what we've been doing for the live. So we'll probably do a collective reading in a second. Then we'll go through fire, earth, air, water signs, and then a volcano mode session. And if they change it up, then I'll let you know. But I don't think I was getting to change it up today. So I know I wasn't here last week, but the week before we did like a kind of a seasonal special with a whole reading and full channel mode message on the autumn season or spring if you're in the southern hemisphere. And that was fun. That was a long life, but it was fun. All right, I need to start. They're like, you need to start. So, yeah, it's time. And if I don't feel like I'm in a weird mood, but if I'm coming off as slightly, I've been working like a lot this week, so I'm good, but hopefully I'm coming off as good for you guys in live. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. Hey, Jessica Johnson, great to see you. Andy Panty Pie, great to see you. I just sent you an email, by the way, because you emailed me about the orange package, so I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what that does, and to hearing about any feedback people have about that once they delve into it and all that. So truly hope that is helpful, impactful for the highest good, and does whatever is for the highest good for it to do. Always delivering well. Thanks, Authentic Mystic. I appreciate the reassurance here. Okay, so I'm going to start the collective reading. Hope you take time to rest. I definitely will tomorrow, for sure. Sometimes I get on these sprints where I take like a couple of days off. I'm like, okay, I'm good to work. Let's cram as like much into these 4 days as possible. And then sort of. And which is fine. I think sometimes you're still finding your flow. The words I hear are as a business owner or as a creator with all the things you would like to do and all the things you've signed up to do that are like scheduled. And I guess that's something I'm still finding my groove on sometimes. So doing my best, but I'm sure that will settle in more because I'm feeling a bit better about it than I have recently. Okay, we're going to start. So this is just a channeled timeless reading for you when you see it. And this is for everyone who sees it. And I'm unmirroring the video as I speak. Ooh, multitasking. So really, I'm going to channel my spirit guides, angels, and source and flow with the channeled messages that are coming through for you, the intuitive messages that are coming through for you, to help you. And just, it's meant to be whatever is for the highest good for you to hear right now, whatever is going to be helpful for you for your highest good right now, and whatever else would be for the highest good. So they are saying start, and here we go. It's really funny because they said start and they showed like, I don't know, I guess like the start that I was seeing is something that might show before like a boxing or karate match where the referees go like bam and like puts his hand down. But it also reminded me of like a race where someone, starts and then like the cars drive off. And that's what they actually started with the first visual after I was kind of thinking that with what they showed me for the start. And they showed these cars like ripping off of the starting line, and all these cars, it reminds me of like Fast and the Furious. Like all these cars are like souped up, or like there's like rally cars they're showing me as well. But the reminder for you is that life is not a race. I'm also hearing the phrase like hurry up and wait. And what they're really saying is there's no need to rush things in your life. And I'm also getting like there's no need to like take things too fast and then miss life is what I'm getting. So they're kind of just reminding people to kind of take time to smell the roses and enjoy life. If you do, it's funny because I'm definitely seeing how this applies to me right now, for this particular message at least, where you definitely don't want to just crash and burn and keep going and then miss out on all the great experiences Source has for you by rushing through certain things. This could just be about a particular area that you're rushing, not your whole life. And you might be like missing something if you rush, like even certain details. So make sure you're taking your time with things, or like adequate time with things, as a reminder. And it could be like rushing a business or rushing a project at work, or rushing through family time to get to some you time, which I do understand trying to find that balance as well, and making sure you have the right balance of both. But the reminder is being present, taking your time with things is going to help you get to best results for sure. Next, they're showing me balloons, and like these balloons just kind of flying up into the air, like someone let go of balloons and they kind of go up into the sky. So, okay, interesting news for you is like these balloons are kind of going up to like outer space for starters. Kind of like, I can't remember if weather balloons go all the way up there, but the message I get is out of this world results. Like there is something you've been putting work into where you're going to be getting out of this world results regarding it. And it could even just be work on yourself. If you're like, I haven't started a project or a charity to change the world, it's like, that's okay. You could just be getting results with like your self-work or a hobby, or like improving your craft, or just something you've been putting work into. For some of you, you're just getting results out of nowhere on something probably that you've been working on. And sometimes you just think you're never going to get results, specifically if you've been working on something for a while, but it could just be something else. And then you do, and you're like, oh, this works. What? So congratulations on your results is what I'm getting for this crowd who's showing up, big or small. A good result is a good result is something I'm getting. And I'm just getting this message like you're going to be proud of yourself regarding whatever this is. And this could show up in the next month is what I'm getting, but it could be now for some of you as well. Next thing they're showing me for this reading for you guys is a party. And they're showing you guys like, oh, you guys are going to be partying. Sometimes like that message comes through for a reading and it'll be like, oh, I had like a birthday party scheduled for someone like next week that I was going to, or someone invited me to this celebration. So it could just be a very literal message, like you're going to a party. For others, this actually could be more etheric, where it's like, is what I'm hearing, the angels could be celebrating you, or, you know, your spirit team, source, regarding a step you're taking, or completing a round of something in your life, or a cycle in your life, like or just making a new choice for yourself that breaks a pattern is something I'm getting. There's kind of a lot of different circumstances showing up as examples for different ones of you, so take it as it resonates, I suppose. But if you don't feel like you're celebrating something, it's like the angels are, or source is, regarding a move you're making or some type of improvement you're making, like with yourself or in your world, or in a change you're making, which is cool. And that kind of shows you're on the right road with something. And you might even be getting signs of like, that seem like something to do with a party, where it's like balloons, or like the examples of signs they're showing me are, it's like a birthday card with balloons, but like maybe someone else is holding it, but it's like jumping out to you as a sign, or you're like walking past people and like someone shouts happy birthday, and then like you kind of walk away before you hear any more of the conversation or walk past them. And so like it's just more like a sign, you know, it shows up as a synchronicity, and you might be like, what's all this celebration about? And if you've been getting signs and you don't know what it's about, two things. I mean, one, it could be coming up and you're like, oh, that's what it's about. But two is like, that's the angels celebrating, or the universe celebrating around you, regarding something you're doing is what I'm getting. So if you make a move or accomplish something, or, you know, something happens like that, and you're getting these signs about celebration afterwards, that's what it is what I'm getting, especially if you're confused about the signs regarding that. So our good friends Grasshopper showing up for this reading as well. Grasshopper, spirit animal. I know he shows up like every week and all the time, and I've just grown to accept that they're going to use that symbol and speed it to a pulp. Sorry. They're like, hey. So sorry guys. Please continue to use the grasshopper. I'm honestly appreciate that I'm getting the messages, and it does seem to be pretty different every time, or, you know, I get the message, so it definitely applies for each reading. So I'm going to ask them for what the clarification on the grasshopper is this time for you guys here. So what I'm getting for this grasshopper is its legs were being like almost like pulled in different directions by different people, or even different like desires that it had, and it felt pulled in like a lot of different directions by each leg. And, you know, it has like 6 legs or whatever. Maybe someone grabs onto its head and it feels pulled in 7 directions. But what I'm getting is like this message about you need to choose for yourself, you know, within reason and in balance. You don't need to go full-blown narcissist on everybody and be like, I only hole myself in my room and eat pizza and I'm losing the words that I was gonna say, but, you know, like when people squat and they don't pay rent, and so I'm not saying like only be out for yourself, but in a balanced way that works with the rest of the world. Like really choose for yourself, choose in alignment with your divine guidance and like what source is telling you and what your soul is telling you, what your heart is telling you. Don't let people pull you away from within reason, don't let people pull you away from your desires, and like kind of like choose your life path for yourself. I feel like that leads to best results, because sometimes we think like everyone around us knows better than us, and it's just not always true, especially if you're divinely guided, by the way, and intuitive, and you're getting that information, you know it's accurate. You've been either trading that, honing that in, you've seen the results of working with it, where you know it's accurate, you know your messages are good. Follow that is what I'd say, like, for yourself. There's a story they would like me to tell you, whether it seems related or not, I've had it happen where I would get a message about something, but I'd like on a certain other level, I'd still kind of like question it or be on the fence about it. And then like a reading would like pop up on, you know, something. And then it'd be saying the exact opposite. And then like if I went with that, it turned out my intuition was correct. And I'd be like, okay, what's going on with this? And I remember I watched a different video from someone, and this gets into like 20, at least 2 trails of things I want to talk about as I talk about these experiences, which it always gets interesting because I feel like I always have so much more to say than just like the one thing. But I'm going to ask them to guide me on this. But I watched this video, and the person was saying like, hey, like if you're divinely guided and intuitive and you're watching a video from someone else, and they're like, the reading's like the exact opposite of what you should do, it's like that's the angels and the universe saying like, listen to yourself and your own intuition and things like that. My intention is that, you know, as a reader who does this online and stuff like that, is like, I am always asking that I'm reliable and accurate. And if someone needs that lesson where someone's the opposite, so the opposite of what they need to hear, they can get that from some other reader out there. Because I would always like to be accurate, helpful, reliable for you guys, you know, for the highest good as a resource. Well, my videos and readings and channelings as a resource, etc. But I do believe that they're having me tell you this story for a reason, for yourself to trust your guts and yourself in your daily life, your overall life. Because, you know, at the end of the day, as the people say, you're the one who has to live with your choices and the directions you choose. And you don't necessarily want to resent everyone else because, well, there's a couple things I could say about that. You chose a direction like against your gut that you knew was the right choice, and then it didn't go well. The other side of that is we do have to take responsibility for our own choices, at least my philosophy. To a certain extent, we have to take responsibility for our own choices as well, and take responsibility for the choice to listen to those people over ourselves and for our choice on who we listen to about things. I think it's important to have some accountability with that so we can choose better in the future and not just explicitly totally blame everybody else with all that. Even if you think you should be able to trust someone, is what I heard, like a friend or a family member or something like that, or a psychic down the street, or I don't know. Nothing wrong with those necessarily. But anyways, the other thing I wanted to talk about with all that, because I was talking about all these different things I wanted to talk about with that story, is sometimes I've noticed, and I've talked about this before, when I watch this is kind of difficult to talk about and put into words, but I'll do my best. What will it take for it to come out with ease and total clarity for the highest good? But there are times where I experience something, it's a bit out of the norm for me, and like I know because I'm paying attention like energetically and like how things are showing up. I don't know when something energetically is like just kind of out of the norm for me, or seems like it's coming from somewhere else. I don't know how to describe it, but then I'll watch like a reading or I go to an event, and like the thing that was out of the norm is something that speaker or reader or whoever talks about in that thing. And what I've kind of noticed is sometimes my experiences are almost, it seems like it's almost created by the thing I'm going to be seeing in the future, even if this has never showed up in my world prior to that, with how things have been operating for me. And I might have to sit with this so I have a better explanation. Maybe there's a better zoomed out way to look at it beyond how zoomed out this is. But sometimes I'm careful with who I listen to, and like just very, very conscientious of following my divine guidance on what I listen to and watch, period, like in the moment, because I feel like in a weird way, some of the things I hear are created before the reading or the channeled event, or, you know, whatever it is, for me at least. And so that's why I'm getting conscientious of like, guys, please only steer me to the things that would be for my highest good. They're going to create the highest and best for me, not anything that's going to like lower my experience, you know, unless I truly need that lesson or experience for my highest good. But if I really don't, then there's no reason to go through that. And again, I can say this with a certain level of confidence because I've seen it play out again and again. And I know I'm on this topic, so I'm going to wrap it up and get to the next message here in a second. But like an example is one time I was going to the bathroom, and I was done going to the bathroom, so hopefully you didn't get any weird visuals of that. But the lights were turned off and the door was closed. And I don't know. The door was closed. I turned the lights off before I opened the door, and then I was sitting in the darkness. I'm like, oh, this is actually really nice. And I never had that experience before, and like just sitting in a dark room. And you know, as a kid, like if the lights go off, you're sprinting out of that room as fast as you can, like to jump into bed or whatever, you know, because something, you feel like something's chasing you, or it's just the thing that kids do. But in this instance, I'm like, oh, this feels really nice. And then like the next day I was going to the sound healing event, and the person facilitating it, who was like a shamanic practitioner with a really good reputation, by the way, I'm not saying he's bad at all, was facilitating the sound healing event, and he was trying to like cover the windows with curtains. He's like, oh, you know, I tried to make this as dark as possible. I wish we were doing it a little bit later when the sun was down, because darkness is a really restoring element. Okay, I'd never experienced that before in my life, but suddenly it got created in my reality before the event when he was saying this. And then I didn't really find that I had that same experience after the event too much, unless I chose it and created it more. And that's the key they're saying, is like the choosing it and creating it. So maybe there's a way for me to choose and create, not getting super impacted by what I'm going to be watching in the future. And maybe that's something I've created for myself, but I digress. That's something to maybe keep in mind going forward with who you choose to listen to or watch. And that might be an example of the more quantum or beyond aspects we sometimes encounter, or something else that are better. Okay, you guys get it. So they're like, they get it. So you guys get it. I'm going to move on here, and let's see what else I'd like to bring through for you guys for this reading here. So the next message they have for you guys is that things are really like up-leveling for you. I do feel like you guys are kind of hitting like higher aspects of reality. However, what they're kind of showing is like reality is like two different layers or like thresholds maybe. And as you kind of come up to the new layer of reality, like they're showing it almost like, an engine red lines and kind of before you like upshift it to the next gear if you're driving a manual car, and it kind of like hits this and it's like redlining, and it's like almost like a little bit of a burden to what I'm getting right now to cross that threshold. And there is going to be more ease with that soon, but it's weird because they're showing this like and you're like, it feels like things are shifting, but they're not really shifting, but they're trying to shift, but it's not really like giving way. Excuse me. It's kind of like trying to step through a doorway, but the screen door is still there and you can't quite like step through it. I do feel like in this instance, it's like a timing thing, like that's about to be opened. And you're about to have greater ease with that, which is really cool. So if you've had like difficulty with changes or transitions, you're about to break free of that difficulty and just have a lot of an easier time up leveling for now, at least, as you cross into this higher vibration that you're hitting, which is cool. And all of you are at potentially different levels with that. So some of you could be like, I'm not saying don't judge yourself with any of this. You could be like here, and you're about to like cross this into this threshold. You could be like up here, and you're about to go higher. You could, each of you is in like wherever you're at. And a lot of you are higher than you realize, by the way, all of you. So again, don't beat up on yourself like I'm probably, whatever you think where you are on that scale. The good news is I'm getting you guys are all higher up than you think you are. So give yourself some credit with all that. But greater ease with changing realities, which is going to be really cool. If you felt like your old reality is melting, or certain things are just like melting out of your life, or you felt like you had a solid grasp on things and then it's kind of just like it oozes between your fingers and you feel like you can't hold on to everything. Really what I'm hearing for those of you that's happening to, well, all of you is what I'm hearing. That thing is just meant to go. That's just part of the old reality. And it's what they're showing me and the words they're giving me to express it to you guys. You may or may not agree on the wording, and I don't care. Please try to look at the essence of what's being brought through here. Is the 3D is like melting, or things that are part, and not like, because some people say 3D and they just mean the physical experience. I don't always resonate with that way of saying it, but whatever. In this instance, I mean like that frequency bandwidth of 3D, where it's kind of like things that are like old world 3D or lower are really melting away. Like they're not sustainable. Even like internal processes and wiring and paradigms could be melting away, and maybe you feel a little bit empty, but it's not like in a bad way. You're just like, oh, I remember a lot more like thoughts and anger there when I was driving, or something like that. And you might still have that pop up for release from time to time. It is what it is. And maybe you feel called to work on that. Maybe you just feel like it's something that comes up from time to time and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to watch that emotion. But anyways, what they're getting to with this, let me see what they'd like to really say here. It's like fine if those things melt away. You'll get like the, 4D, but 5D or higher replacements soon, especially for those of you really hitting the throttle for going higher and ascending vibrationally or raising your vibration, however you want to look at it, is fine by them. But those higher dimensional replacements will come in, and they mean frequency, by higher dimensional replacements. I don't think anyone's going to hand you a Tesseract tomorrow physically, but let's move on to what they'd like to get to here. Don't be like afraid if things are melting out. It's like, it's really supposed to. It's weird, the analogy they're giving me to try and further explain this, but it's like if people put things in the oven to like, if you think of, ovens have higher temperature, but it's like vibrationally in a way. It's kind of like things are cooking a little bit. So things that can't handle the heat, that aren't meant to be in the 5D, are going to melt in the oven and not be a part of your reality. So kind of an ascension-y message, which is cool, but just kind of notice that happening and know that's going to be happening is what I'd say. going forward for the highest good, all that. So next thing they'd like to get to here is on that same note, sometimes our higher dimensional replacements for things that melt out of our world aren't exactly what we're expecting or think it should look like in the physical. That doesn't mean it's going to be bad, or it's like, oh, I was expecting Prince Charming as my 5D relationship or whatever, if you're not. But maybe it's just like Chad from accounting, but he's actually a really spiritual person. And then you grow to love Chad. I don't know. That's just an example, and you don't have to take that literally, of course. But I don't know. Maybe Chad's really attractive. Maybe he's packing a 6-pack under his office shirt, and you just never noticed. And he looks tubby, but he's not. And but let's not take away from the possibilities for y'all. But and I know some of you are not into guys, and it's not really supposed to be per gender. That's just an example, of course, but take it how it will apply to you, please. Just like, don't be surprised if things are a bit different. The other thing with that is, don't be surprised when those things that are different than you were expecting turn out to be better long term as they evolve and progress, because sometimes our replacements, what's the best way to say this? The way they're showing me to explain it is like, our replacement is not either fully ready, or it's like when you get the replacement, it's still in the box in a metaphorical way. And it's like, you're like, why is this box smaller than I thought it would be? And then you open it and you're like, oh, it's a set of car keys. Oh, my car is outside. It's not in the box. It's like different than you were expecting, but you still get the thing. Or it's like, once you undo the box, you're like, oh, this is what I asked for. It just came in this packaging that was a little bit, makes sense now as a thing. Okay, I get it. Came in this packaging that was different than you expected is the metaphor and pun they were kind of showing to is one way you could, okay, you get it. That's one thing I'm getting to say for you guys. And so I feel like I'm tripping over my words trying to get this out, but could be different than you're expecting. Let's move on here. I just feel like it's also going to be better, or way better than you'd hoped long term. Okay, next thing they'd like to get to here. They're showing this car. Speaking of a car, I guess, but this car is kind of beat up. It's like an old Pontiac. I don't know if that matters to anyone. The color they're showing me is like blue-green-ish kind of paint or something like that. Maybe it's fluorescent's not the right word. But anyways, they're showing this car with its like wheels taken off and like on blocks, almost like someone stole the wheel, or maybe it's being worked on, in the driveway or something like that by whoever owns it, and they just don't have a jack stand that's good enough to hold up a car. I'm not sure. But let me sit with this visual and see where they're going with this one here. If you feel like you've been robbed by anything lately, and could be literal, could be more like, oh, I got robbed of that promotion, as that phrase goes, I feel like you're going to get that thing back in a different way. One example that's showing up here that I can talk about that they're showing me, or that's popping in really quickly as a flash, is there have been times when I was doing one-on-one readings where people would talk about like, oh, I just like lost all this money, or this person just like stole this money from me. Like, am I going to get that back? And I'd be like, yes, but it might not be from that exact person returning that money. It might be the universe pays you back in different ways or in your life, and it might not come all at once. So for example, like someone lost $200 some one time, and then like, they might do a gig and get paid an extra $50 they weren't expecting, or their grandma sends them an unexpected check in the mail for Easter for $30 that your grandma never usually sends a check, like things like that, where all of a sudden you're kind of getting extra money in from these other areas for the universe to recoup that money, and maybe with interest is what I'm hearing. It could show up with interest as well. But don't discount the universe can pay you back in other ways than the direct situation you're worried about. And another thing I'll talk about a few other things about that, because it applies, and you might need to hear this in some other ways, or it could just be helpful information for you or another person, as you're talking about this, if it comes up in conversation. But sometimes when we give, we don't and there's that phrase, like, when you give, you receive. And like, sometimes people talk about ways to get more abundance are giving. And yes, in a genuine way, but also maybe with a healthy balance to it as well, where you're not over giving and depleting yourself and your resources overly much. Maybe that can pan out. I don't know if I recommend it. But anyways, trust your intuition, divine guidance on all that too. Sometimes that's the best way to give, is just like, what are you divinely guided to give? Because sometimes you're not supposed to give to a certain situation, person, charity event, and sometimes you really, really are. And sometimes it's surprising how much or how little when you're following your intuition, but that's kind of the best barometer. Anyways, sometimes you give something and you get it back in a different form, a different avenue, a different person. Because what I was shown one time when I asked about that, I'm like, how does that work when I give to a friend? And all of a sudden, like, I get all this from over here from, I don't know, my mom, or all this over here from this person donating money, or whatever it is. Or all of a sudden my business gets more successful and I'm bringing more money in. And the way I was shown it was, the universe is everyone and everything. So when you're giving to someone else, you're also giving to the universe in a way, and the universe is going to pay you back with interest. And that might be, I don't know, that was one thing that I was shown that I thought was really fascinating. And you might have a different understanding. That's fine, as long as it works for you. But they're like, no, that was good. So never mind. I'm going to stand by what I said. They are going to stand by what I just said, or what they had me say. The other thing is, where are we going with this? Just know that can happen when you're called to give. Because sometimes it's tempting to keep score with one situation or one person, but you're going to be getting so much more from this other area if you keep your eyes open and pay attention to that. And you'll kind of notice, if you're paying attention energetically, your intuition, clairsentient, whatever you work with, even clairvoyant, any of the clairs or beyond the clairs for the highest good that you work with intuitively for your in the highest good, you'll kind of pick up on an energy being different. When someone shows up synchronistically to like give you something, you're like, oh, that was like from the universe. And you could say it always is, and you'd probably be correct. But if you pay attention to these things, you start to pick up on like, oh, I see how that's where okay. With all that vibrationally, with what you're picking up on as events happen, and the energies that are with those events that you're picking up on as they happen, you really start to pick up on a lot, especially as in general, and then you bring in intuitive guidance, channel guidance, you really get a whole package going. Hint, hint for some of you is what I'm hearing. Next thing they like to get to here, it is time for stability. For some of you, or a lot of you, like grounding is going to be really helpful right now, like at the end of every day. Especially if you feel like you're ascending a lot or hitting higher vibrations. It's like, if you're grounding, you're going to be integrating. You're going to be bringing that vibration in your body, and you're going to be shifting faster, as opposed to, I personally really dislike this phrase, but not because it's wrong, but because certain people have said it to me, and I really didn't like it the way they said it to me, or with the tone they said it to me. So it's not that there's anything wrong with this per se, but up in the ethers, if you will. The reason I say I don't like that tone, I feel like some people have been condescending in the past, slightly like almost condescending with me when they'd say it, and I don't feel like it was necessarily like the appropriate way to handle the situation with me, but maybe I'm getting a little bit personal with that. But not really, I'm hearing. So let's move on to the next message for you guys. They're showing me this turtle. Oh, but with its time for stability, that is like on a rise and is manifesting more, especially as you hit the higher frequencies and you're at a new threshold, and maybe you're at a place where you're going to be for a while, or maybe you'll be working in that energy for a while. So you'll be able to have some stability in that threshold perpetually. Instead of things always changing in a way where you feel destabilized, things might still be changing internally, externally, but I feel like it's going to be stable and held, and maybe a bit more fun as well, because I'm hearing a bit more fun as well. Cool. So that's happening and manifesting. Turtle is the next thing showing up here, and they're kind of talking about, turtle has its home on its back in a way. Let me see what this is about here. For a lot of you, there could be a lot of travel coming up. It kind of makes sense because the holiday season's coming up at the time I'm filming this, though it is timeless if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards, so it could apply anytime you're watching it. And some of you might be getting a new home unexpectedly, or you're like forced to move, but it works out really well. I've had that happen multiple times, by the way. So I feel like I'm like the poster child of how, or I don't want to make that agreement now and forward. I like where I live now, for at least right now. But I feel like I've been in the past the poster child of being forced to move, and it works out really well. At least eventually. And like, you know that might be happening, but it's leading to better, and it's not a bad thing. And I feel like it will be more stable if that happens. But there's like a lot of movement energy, and it could be like movement could be a new business, a new home, new job, new relationships coming in. It's kind of just like whatever your stability is, either a new version of, I mean, yes, things are becoming more stable, but a new version of that, or new things around that kind of change the atmosphere and make it a new experience. So there's a lot of movement energy, but I feel like it's gonna be good and stable, and or lead to more of that, or it's just a part of that stability manifesting. So they're done with the reading. They said no more, done. So I hope that helped, resonated, whatever was for your eyes good. There's one more. They're showing this bowling ball. They're showing this video that went viral, and I don't know if it was like niche viral or if it was like viral, but there's this dude who was bowling, and I think he ended up winning this like big bowling tournament or match. It might have been professional bowling. I can't remember if he's like bowled a perfect game on top of that or what, but it was like this really tight match, and he bowls and he wins. And then he like exclaimed, like he was just really excited, and he exclaimed like this, like, "Who do you think you are? I am." And it just like, it didn't really make sense, but he was just really caught up in the moment. As far as why this is showing up for you as a message here, let's see. Okay, so there are a lot of exciting things coming potentially for this crowd in the next couple months, but they're saying to try to, not to denigrate this guy, it's not like he did anything wrong, but try to keep a level head as exciting things happen, and try to keep it grounded. And I actually feel like you're going to be like way more successful, because you might be like missing a few things if you go like way up in the air with excitement and then like just forget everything, and then like don't do anything because like you had a successful event, and then like you kind of fall behind or something like that. Like if you kind of keep on it and you're like, yeah, you're excited, and maybe you take a day to celebrate, but you kind of stay on the horse and keep a level head, and use that excitement to fuel you more in whatever area it's in. I feel like it's going to help lead to best results. So whatever this is about, try not to get like ungrounded and lose a level head if some really exciting things happen, or some big things happen, or you start to see some success somewhere, like keep it moving is what I'm getting. It reminds me of like a American football team. It's like a Super Bowl match. I don't remember which match. I kind of stopped watching American football a while ago. Nothing wrong with watching American football, by the way. But, you know how sometimes like a team might get like a really big lead, or they might like get this like really good position at the end of the game where they're ahead by a bit and they think they can relax, but then the other team like performs this like miracle comeback because the other team got too relaxed, and just like somehow comes back and wins by like a point or 2 points or whatever, and then like everyone's like all upset over here because they had it in the bag. Kind of, not to put this on you, but what I'm hearing is like kind of like that, maybe like just stay level is what I'd say. It's like, yeah, excited, you're winning, still a game going on, like, you know, keep your head in the game, I guess you could say. And there's a bit more with this before I part ways with this reading. So give me 1 second to say with this. Good news is you are going to win, is what I'm getting as well. So I guess regardless of whether you get excited and wrapped up in that or not, there are going to be wins on the way for the highest good. So that's cool. That's really awesome. And even if you do get wrapped up in that excitement and I'm just doing that, like, don't worry. I feel like that is something you can rectify and change going forward. It would be a good lesson, and you'd probably never do it again, and you'd be far more successful in the future. So I actually don't even feel like you will make that mistake. but just as a message, hopefully that's helpful, either for right now or going forward. So hope that helped, resonated. Whatever was for your highest good. I'm getting these weird phrases now because like they're showing this bowling ball like hitting the pins and like scattering and like, oh, like you guys are going to be dominating life and like things like that. Like that's a little aggressive, but if that's the message, that's the message. So go out there and win, I guess. And even if you're someone who feels like you're playing a little bit smaller right now, like you're just like, I just want to recover from this, this thing, or I just want to like, if any of you are in a lower space, and if you're not in this space, just be thankful and keep inviting in better for yourself as well. But if you're just like, I'm having trouble getting out of bed in the morning or anything like comparable to that, it's like that could be your win, is you feeling better or you accomplishing like chores and realizing you can do it. And it's like, that's a big win for you. And that's not a call down and that's not denigrating. That's something to applaud is what I'd say for anyone at like and not many of you are. So maybe like 2% of you are at like a lower place with any of that. So celebrate that, because those wins stacked on top of each other lead to the big wins overall down the road when you're like back in a stable, good place and you can do the things you like to do potentially with your life. And even if like your win is just working on being happy instead of like sad or depressed, that's a big win. Because in some ways your experience of life in some ways is everything, or is like a huge part of it, regardless of whether it looks outwardly successful or not to other people based on their paradigms, judgments, projections, etc. It's important you're living a life you truly like to live. So try not to get too wrapped up in that, but I'd say wins are wins and big wins are wins, regardless. So I don't know, go live your life to the best of your ability. I've anything else to wrap this up? That would be for the highest good. They're done. Okay. Hope that made sense. What resonated, do whatever is for your highest good here. And I notice sometimes when like something like comes in, like an energy comes in, and like I close my eyes, I'm like, oh, what is that? There have been times in the past where I'd like close my eyes to like just sit with that or deal with that. And then like my eyes didn't close all the way. You could like see the whites of my eyes. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. I hope I never do that again. So if that happened at any point, like, I'm fine. It's actually nothing to worry about. So, I just try to close my eyes tighter now whenever I close my eyes. So thanks, Brandon. Resonated. I always feel like the universe gifts me through nature and always provides. Oh, that's awesome. No, totally. I'm literally in the middle of a move and also planning a baby shower. Everything you just said resonated. Perfect. Thanks for the feedback, Sean. I'm super glad to hear it. And I hope all that goes wonderfully for you. Thanks, Prince Priestess. I appreciate it. Never noticed the eye thing, no worries. Yeah, maybe I should just never mention it. Maybe I should just muscles out to play today strong. Oh man, I appreciate you, Prince Priestess. Always showing up and gassing me up and making me laugh. So that's okay. In the best ways, of course. God, I love the universe, and I'm always grateful to catch your life. Thank you. Oh, that means a lot, and you are welcome. And I love the universe too. Sweet. So we're going to move to the next reading in just a second here. I'm going to hang out with y'all for a second, and then that's what I miss most from our calls. I know. I miss them too. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing with open up one-on-one readings again. I just have to be careful with the balance of everything else I'm doing and not running myself ragged with it. How much is a reading? So I'm not doing paid readings for the live. I'm doing general collective right now. I definitely used to do, like, I used to call it Q and Channeled A back in the early days of the lives I'd do every Sunday. And I would do a lot of one-on-one, just messages and readings for people, but I never really charged for the lives. And I'm not doing one-on-one paid readings through my website right now either. I've kind of been drawn to focus on other things and build what I'm building in different ways and be of service, and that are going to align more with where I'm going right now. So if I end up doing one-on-one readings again, we'll see. I just have to do it in a more balanced way. And I'd have to sit with them on what I would charge for that if I opened that back up. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge if we come to it, Would you do paid questions on the end of your lives? I'll consider it. I don't have anything set up for that right now. I'm sure I could, but I'll consider it for sure. Sean Christine, I missed the readings too, but it's also really push. I'm sure you ran out of the character limit there, but I kind of feel like I know where you're going with that comment, and I want to answer it, but I also want to let you type it out. Those readings seem like they would take up a lot of personal energy. Oh, thanks for the cat hat there. Oh my gosh. They do take up a lot of personal energy for me. They go really deep. And there's a lot of levels to it that it can be a lot to bring through. And then sometimes, and this isn't oh, you all have bad energy. It's sometimes you're also picking up on that person's energies and what they're going through, or ahead of the reading, you'll also pick up on the people you're going to be reading for, and and it kind of turns into a boundaries game as well in some ways. But when you're really, really sensitive, it can be a lot to pick up on all that. And then you're doing the reading and you're picking up on all that. So honestly, if I did one-on-one readings again, I'd probably have to raise my prices and do fewer, just because of the tax it takes on me. And it was funny because I was just watching something from Lee Harris, who's a channeler that if you're into channeled work, I do recommend you check out his work because he's really good. And he has a lot of really good things to say. But he used to do a lot of one-on-one readings too. And one thing he talked about that was oh, thank God, I'm not the only one, was he talked about even later on in his career, right before he stopped doing, one-on-one readings, because his business really grew with a lot of the other work he was doing as well. But he'd said he'd take a 1 day for doing readings at this point in his career, and he would do 2 75-minute readings, and he'd take the whole morning to kind of conserve energy for it, and then he'd take the rest of the day recovering. I'm oh, thank God. Because I would do 4 readings and I would be pooped. Sometimes I do one-on-one reading. I'm just I'm done for the day. I can't do anything else. But then you're trying to do things to, run your business, put out free content, scale your other, there's so much you're trying to do to get to your targets as well. Of course, in a way where you're also of service and you're guided to, and it's for the highest good of everyone. And you're trying to kind of meet your needs and the needs of everyone else and go towards your dreams, honestly. And if I'm doing too many one-on-one readings in a week, it's a lot. And I used to do about 4 readings a day was about what I would kind of put it at on my scheduler, because I'm just if I do too many more, it's just gonna. And I would sometimes notice by that 4th reading, I'm oh my God, I don't know how I'm. And you'd get through it, it would work. But if you did too much, it was a lot. And there's a lot that went into the one-on-one readings. There's the channeling and the information coming through, but there's also a really there's the energetic transmission. There's the energetic healing aspect of the reading that's being facilitated as well. There's a lot that's being brought through, that's being facilitated. And it could be a powerful experience. And at the same time, I have to kind of honor myself and my own needs, and I can't. I'd love to just be a machine and be 20 readings a week, and then keep it at I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. So that's oh, thanks for all the gifts, by the way, guys. I really appreciate it, whoever's sending those. So that was some of my personal experience with that, as far as looking out for myself, finding the balance. You did them like all day long too. I don't know how you did it. Yeah. I think I was just kind of wrapped up I think that was part of the lesson at that time. It was really funny too, because the one-on-one readings, I started like around the time of my Saturn return, maybe a bit before actually, or maybe perhaps a ways before, but I started doing professional one-on-one readings like more consistently, like a lot, around the time my Saturn return started, and I stopped doing them around the time my Saturn returns ended, and it wasn't planned that way. It just just to maybe give you a slight idea. I'm like, that's interesting, and all the challenges that brought up. And by the way, this is not to say like I didn't appreciate getting to do those. I didn't appreciate like the awesome people I got to meet, some of the awesome experiences I got to had. It's not to say I didn't appreciate like what came into my life resulting that, because there's a lot to really, really appreciate it. And there was a time where I was just like, I love this so much, and I'm just never want it to end, especially towards the beginning. So it's not to say like, oh, it was terrible, I'm never doing it again. It was more just like to look after myself and to heed the call of the universe is something I had to step away from, either temporarily or at least eventually overall, whether I end up bringing it back in or not. So that's some of that on my end, I guess. So, but I also got really good feedback on a lot of the one-on-one readings, almost all of them. And sure, maybe there was some time, like occasionally, like there was something that wasn't a match, that was a lesson for me or a learning experience for me, or maybe the other person. Or maybe sometimes people didn't want to hear the truth when they booked a reading. They expected me to just be nice to them and tell them what they wanted to hear. But, and it's not like I did it unkindly if I had to bring through something like that. But yeah, it's not like it was bad or getting bad results for people. It's just, it wasn't exactly what I needed. So let's I'll hang out for a bit more, and then we'll do the fuego signs. You hinted at the idea of doing in-person classes and sessions. Is that going to happen? Probably not right now. Maybe in the future. I don't really have the right space for it right now. And, the other thing is right now, the way things are for me, I haven't invested a lot into building a local, what's the best way? I mean, I could add that into what I'm doing, but I've really focused more online with what I'm building and doing, and in ways I could reach more people. So I don't have a lot built up. They don't want me to say that. What's the accurate way to say this? That would be nice. Good. I don't feel like I right now have the resources locally where I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like I could potentially rent out like a hotel and do like an event or something like that. But then people are paying, so much money for flying out if they're like from around the country or from out of country. And then I'd really want to make it worth the while. Or if someone wants to drive like 48 hours, or 36 hours across the country to come to an event, just to do like a class. It's kind of like, I don't know if that's like worth it for everybody. So maybe in the future, I'd love to do in-person events or like things like that in the future. But right now it doesn't seem like it's right there. And maybe it is and I don't see it yet, but that's, I guess, what I'll say about that. So not quite yet. Okay, so I'm going to start the fire signs reading right now. Sorry if that's disappointing. It would be cool. And I've done a lot of in-person stuff locally before I got on, TikTok and started building online. It's just not always the best way to go about things for a scalable thing that's helping a lot of people, even though there is merit to it, and it wouldn't be a waste of time if I incorporated it, I'm sure. No, totally. Okay, so if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, I'm going to start the fire signs reading and jump into this. So we're going to flow with the channel messages coming through from my spirit guides, the angels, and source. For you, for your highest good. And sorry for the pause there. Flow with the channel messages, the intuitive messages that would be for your highest good from my spirit guides, the angels, and source. Let's start this reading here. They're showing someone digging a hole for starters for this reading for the fire signs, but they're actually giving a message about you digging yourself out of a hole. And it could even be a financial hole where like the opportunity to dig yourself out presents itself. Like maybe you get a new job, or maybe you're jobless and you're looking for a job, or maybe someone offers you a way to make money. So I feel like you're going to have the opportunity to dig yourself out of holes, or you already are, and that's going to be successful, and you'll be able to climb from there and make your life better, which is cool. I feel like a lot of you are worried about your life right now, even like your future, how things are going to pan out, what's the right direction for you, are you going the right way? Like all these things are popping up. And really what I'm hearing is like all is going to be resolved with time. Like you don't need to worry about that. And there have been plenty of times in the past, what I'm hearing is that you've been in confusion like that, and then you found the right path and right way anyways. So this could be like that. And there's a couple different things I could say. The message I'm hearing for you right now is you don't always need to know everything about your path. Sometimes you just need to handle what's right in front of you and do your best with that. And the path takes care of itself. And we can't always control everything. I don't know why I'm hearing this example. We can't always like make our specific love interests, fall in love with us and be only for us and only live in our basements, caged up, loving us forever, and they can't look at anyone else. And I know this is a bit extreme, but that's kind of a joke. That is a joke, actually. Some people get extreme. I don't know. But, we can't always do that. And sometimes we can just do the best next thing, like for ourselves, for our lives, for our current situation, and hope for the best and let the universe handle the rest and manifest to the best of our ability what would be for the highest good. So try not to worry right now. Like things are taken care of, like the divine is on it. You're not alone in this. But you're also kind of worried for nothing is the other side of that they'd like to bring through for you here. They're really on this message about control though, for some reason. Like it might be tempting to try to control something, someone, outcomes of a situation, manipulate a job situation, make someone fire someone else so you can keep your job or progress. Like I'm not saying you're underhanded or doing this, but if you're considering something underhanded, or you've caught yourself thinking those thoughts, or you're caught yourself in patterns where you're doing those things, like please stop and like really sit with it and be like, okay, what would really be for the highest good? And even if something doesn't go your way, like how might it be in the long game or overall working out for me for my highest good? Even if I don't see that right now, like if I don't get that promotion, how might that be working in my favor? Like what opportunity could be coming up that either was so great that this had to be a no, or is where I'm really meant to go, and I'll see the reasons for that in the future if I trust that and stop trying to control the situation. And all of you are going to be at different levels for that. Some of you, that's just a reminder before you catch yourself in that and be like, okay, I can stop. I can keep myself from doing that. I can do something different. Some of you really need to hear that. And I'm not trying to call you out, but honestly, this message could be the one that's most helpful for you, even if you aren't happy with it. And I'm here to bring through what's going to be for your highest good and be helpful for you. Not necessarily always what you want to hear. If what you want to hear and what's for the highest good for you to hear, what's accurate lines up, great. If it doesn't, too bad. You can find someone else and watch people who are just going to tell you what you want to hear, and good luck with that. Next thing, because I don't think that's always helpful for us. I don't think that's going to lead to the best outcomes for us. If that's, we're only hearing what we want to hear, but that's not accurate. It is not leading to the best results long term. It's like burying your head in the sand and wondering why the wolves keep getting to you. It's like, burying your head in the sand doesn't keep the wolves from getting to you. Being aware of what's going on with the wolves making the appropriate moves allows you to make the right maneuvers and not get eaten by the wolves. So anyways, I don't know why I just rolled my eyes, but let's move on to the next message here. That would be for your highest good right now here. So, and the other message with all of this is, if you find yourself controlling things, or you've noticed that pattern or habit, like the universe is bringing you so much better if you stop. Like, it's not even funny. And that's kind of the lesson with all that. So next thing they're showing me is like a pool ball, but they're also showing me like dominoes and like kind of like these different games, interestingly enough here. This came through in the collective message, but I do get you're going to be winning a lot in your personal world. Contrary to what you might think after what you just heard, but bear with me for a second here. There are a lot of wins coming in around all of that. And it could even be whether you choose to control or not, because this could be a completely different area that these wins are coming in regarding. And it could be personal wins. It could be big wins. Okay. I'm not promising you're going to win the lottery or anything like that. They showed the lottery, but it could be metaphorical, by the way. Let me see what they'd like to say about that. It's just another sign that you're going to be winning is what I'm getting. So it could be like you're seeing the lottery as like a sign you're going to win in other areas. It's not like you're literally going to win the lottery. I think it'd be extremely irresponsible of me to show up here and be like, you're all going to win the lottery. All, however many hundreds or thousands or whatever end up seeing this video whenever you see it. I just find that vastly irresponsible. And I'd also say it'd be vastly irresponsible of me to say you're all going to be billionaires, all however many. It's like, how many billionaires do we have in the world? How many people are going to see this? And honestly, that just might not be true. Not saying you won't have enough money or that you can't have wealth or anything like that, or that you can't create wealth. It's not to limit you. It's like, you get it. But the news is, why am I on these kicks right now with this reading? The news is you're going to be getting wins, and potentially big wins, could be small, but it's just in the energy right now, and it's where you're headed. And it's like this autumn season does, whenever you're seeing it, but if you're watching this around the time I'm filming it and posting it and all that, or, doing the live and posting it, wins in like the next couple months is what I'd say. Wins in the autumn season, spring if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, which is going to be great, honestly. So I guess that's just part of the energy right now for you, and keep heading towards that. So keep going. I feel like now's not a good time to stop and just like not do anything. It's like a lot of you are in your groove anyways. Just keep it up and cultivate habits and patterns that are going to help you win is what I'd say long term as well, and keep you going. Next thing they like to get to, they're showing me an armadillo. The message is like not to retreat into your shell and not to hide away, and really face life, honestly, is what I'm getting. Face yourself if you have to face yourself. Face some of your patterns. You have to face your patterns. The message is like, and this is for the highest good, by the way, so take this in the best way. Things can crumble if you face them, but certain things might strengthen if you don't, or appear to strengthen. And, like that, that story where, we put off doing the dishes, and then like the dishes keep piling higher and we don't want to do them, and it just seems like a bigger and bigger task the more we put it off. It's kind of like that is kind of what they're showing me, where it's like, there might be certain things in your life you don't want to face or tackle, but if you do, it's like those issues crumble, and like you can have better instantly. But if you don't, it just becomes like a monster, and then all of a sudden you're like battling a monster when you never had to, is kind of, and that's a metaphor, of course, but just keep that in mind right now. It's like I'd really be like stoic in a way with rising to the day, facing what you need to face, maybe meeting certain challenges head on, or meeting what you need to do head on. At least I feel like that second one is like what they're like, that's the more important message. It's like meeting the things you need to do instead of letting it pile up, or letting things overwhelm you when they don't need to. Like, take a deep breath. What do I need to tackle next? Do it is what I'd say is advice right now. Because I just don't feel like you need the overwhelm, and I don't think the overwhelm is necessary. If you in some ways, there's like ways around it, or to help you with that, and to cultivate life where it's not there as much. Next thing with armadillo here as well, there are potentially boundaries you need to set is something I'm getting for this reading. And like the more you are setting those boundaries, the better. So pay attention to where anyone's like mistreating you. Pay attention to anywhere like you're letting people walk. This is a very interesting reading. But pay attention to where you're letting certain people walk all over you. Or, you know, it could even be like you're not asking for enough from certain like relationships or business transactions, partnerships, whatever it is. And your boundary is like raising your prices, for example, with a business you're doing, or your boundaries are just saying no to someone you always say yes to, and it always drains you when you go over and like clean this person's house, but you keep feeling like, yeah, I don't know if I have a valid excuse. Your valid excuse is that it drains you when you're able to say no. It's like there's your valid excuses. You probably have better things you could be doing with your time, and you know, trust your intuition on whether you're guided to say yes or no to something, but follow that. And that could be your boundary as well, just trusting your intuition on the answer you're getting and not rationalizing it away because like, oh, well, I really could take the Saturday to clean this person's house. Oh, I really could. It's like, you know, you're getting that intuitive message for a reason, even if it doesn't make sense right now to you or the other person. So there's more with armadillo though right now. It's interesting because if you tackle certain things head on, you're gonna get your chance to rest. And if you don't, you won't, is kind of what I'm getting in an interesting way. Because I know there's time periods where we need to, and I'm not saying don't rest until all your tasks are completed or anything like that. Like take breaks, do your self-care. But maybe even as far as like a vacation or something like that, I'm not saying this right. What's the best way for me to say this here? Sometimes if you just tackle what you need to do, you get time to rest in general. And sometimes if you just like put things off, like, I mean, one, maybe you're not even resting because you're like, oh, I got to do this thing. And you're just like a ball of anxiety, or not really, you know, but, you know, you're stressed about all the things you need to do, but they're not getting done, but you're trying to rest and slow down, but nothing's happening. So you're not really getting anything good out of slowing down, you know, maybe something akin to that. What's the best way for me to say this to help you guys here? I don't know. They're just saying tackle things head on. You'll have time to rest. I'm sure you get it with that, so I don't need to over-explain it or anything like that. And it'll make sense if you do it, because, you know, sometimes you tackle everything and you're like, oh, I have a whole day to myself now, or something like that. What else would be for that? It's good for this reading. Next message I'm getting for you is like the universe is going to be lighting your passion on fire. So if you've been feeling passionless at all or not as fiery about like accomplishing things, like that fire is going to be lit, or you're going to be finding your passion for something, renewed passion for something, and able to take action towards it, especially if you felt stuck. It's almost like there's a passion coming in to help lift you out of it, which is actually really cool. So I like that for you. They're bringing Turtle in for you as well. They brought it in for the collective reading. So what's up with this Turtle here? We did have this message in the collective reading as well about not rushing things. I know we've had all these messages about tackle things head on, But in the overall area of your life, and like big picture things, it's like the message is like it doesn't always make sense to rush towards big picture things because they are big picture things. Like it almost like doesn't matter if you have it like tomorrow or a year from now or maybe a couple. It's like if it shows up regardless, it's like what's 1 or 2 more years. Like you can take this 1 or 2 more years to, if you're building towards something, like hone your craft, learn the lessons you need to learn to hold this bigger thing that's a bigger picture thing in your life. But it's almost like rushing towards it overly much might like push it further away, but taking your appropriate time with things will like bring it to you faster in a weird way because you're not making mistakes. And this is more big picture, by the way, this message is how it might differ from what you just heard about like doing what needs to be done, etc. Not retreating into your shell. facing certain things. And you know what? Facing things could just be social events. You're like, I don't want to go to social events. I'm just going to hole up in my house. But then a year goes by and you're like, where'd my friends go? You know, it is one thing if you're guided to do that and you know that's the right move. It's another if you're, you know, doing it because you just don't want to, but you know it could be good for you, but you're not doing it. You know, there's a different balance with all that. But anyways, big picture, try not to rush like your big picture items. Take it one day at a time with all that here. Okay, I feel like I might be confusing you guys right now. So some of you, I apologize for that. I'm going to ask them either to bring in clarity or to start to straighten something out, and then we'll move on to whatever else is for us good to get to for this here. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. Don't rush things, but face things head on. And hopefully those two things are making sense as I say them. Okay, that helped. So we're going to move on here. So the next message is about abundance. I would definitely be doing daily practices that bring in abundance. I just made a post like this on TikTok, honestly, where I gave it wasn't just about abundance, but I gave an example of a personal experience where I was doing something. What's the best way to say this here? You know, if you put in a practice to bring in abundance every day, like that's going to manifest. It's going to move the energies in that direction. It's going to bring that in. And whether that's a physical action, it's an intention that manifests the physical actions. Because sometimes for me, what I've noticed is I set an intention. I will naturally sometimes just find myself doing the things that'll bring that manifestation in, or taking the actions, or I'll be divinely guided to take the actions to bring that in. You know, and there's plenty of times where it just shows up and I don't have to do anything, or sensibly I don't have to do anything. Like that's happened where I'm just asking and then it's like there. Especially energetic things, asking is there for me. And I want to clarify that because I think sometimes in like a TikTok post when I talk about things, I don't always have as much time to delve into like the nuances that I'd like to, or the details I'd like to really flesh out an explanation of something, or, you know, talk about something. But if you start setting that intention, like again, that could happen where you just naturally find yourself compelled to do the things that bring that in. You know, it could just show up on your doorstep. It could be a combination of both. Things start showing up and you're compelled to take actions in other areas to bring in like abundance, for example. But I'd like work on your abundance daily, whether that's self-work on abundance, that's setting intentions and manifesting it, that's working towards something you know is going to be abundant to you, healing yourself regarding abundance, you know, putting something on to bring in abundance on YouTube or whatever it is, going to be helpful for you. And, you know, I have some resources out there for that. Other people for sure have other resources out there on that. So do what you're called to, see what resonates for you, and put those on is what I'd say. Do whatever works for you. But I do feel like abundance is coming in, and I feel like the universe wants you to maximize your abundance through calling it in and like through taking the action steps and through doing what you need to do to get that. Not that it's limited in the first place, but I feel like the universe wants you to have the experience of calling in your abundance and receiving it is weirdly enough the message I'm hearing. One, so maybe you'll end up teaching others about that, some of you. Two, so you'll kind of know some of your power, and then you'll realize you can manifest anything and then you'll take action towards other things in your life from that place of empowerment once you see the results you can get. Even if it takes time, you know, whether it takes time or not, because again, things can show up instantly. Sometimes things take a little bit of time and action. Anything else on that before we start to close this reading out here? So abundance is coming your way. If you start putting in action to bring in more or something like that, it's going to be like a ton is what I'm getting. They're done. They're saying no more. Tiger Spirit Animal is coming at the end to round out this reading and deliver a message. I know Tiger Spirit Animal's been showing up a lot as well. And a lot of times one of the themes with Tiger Spirit Animal is power and owning your power. And that's something I'm getting for this reading as well right now here. So there's really another reminder just to not let people push you around, to really stand your ground and stand firm in yourself right now. Even regarding your morals is something I'm getting, and who you are as a person. Because you might feel somehow a ton of pressure to do something that's against your morals, either from teachers, other people out there who seem like they're ahead of you, telling you to do something, other people in your life, and you're like, no, that doesn't feel right. Like, trust that and stand in your power with that. Like, there are rewards that come from integrity from the universe. Not that it's about getting rewarded, necessarily either, but usually that's rewarded if you're in alignment with yourself and operating in congruence with your integrity, and what you feel is moral for the highest good. For me, I'd add in, like, especially if it's aligned with like source and your divine guidance and intuition. I feel like that's the best barometer for like what's actually like moral, ethical. And I have a weird thing with morals on a human level as well, because how much of morals is actually morals as far as what's for the highest good, as far as other people teach it, and how much of it is like a projection or judgment on good or bad and like what's right in a situation. And sometimes I feel like those morals and typical things taught do line up with like a conscious aligned person, but maybe sometimes not, as far as what's for the highest good of you, another person, a situation, the highest good of all in a situation. So that might also be part of it, honestly. Where you're not getting pulled around by other people's judgments, like that. There's a little bit more on this though before we... Nope. Yes, a little bit more on this. So let me sit with it for a second. Okay, just another reminder to stand in your power regarding your choices and not let other people make choices for you. This lifetime is what I'm getting. It's one thing to get counsel from a wise friend who's good, wise, intuitive, channels really well, accurate, etc. Or just, they have your best interest at heart, and it's always helpful for you when you listen to them. It's another to just listen to everyone else, and maybe you want to people please them, and that's why you're listening to them, and you don't want them mad at you because you didn't take their advice or whatever. If someone's like mad at you because you didn't take their advice, couple things. It could just be they're having a trigger or something come up and they need to work through that, and they'll own that and they'll do that, and they won't project and be angry at you forever. They'll work through that, and they should. Should is a weird word, but it'd be for the best if they did, more than likely. The other thing is if they just don't own that and they don't work on that, and they're not taking this as like, oh, this is something I need to work through, that I'm mad about this and sit with this and heal this or whatever. And they're just continually sitting in that and like mad at you, petty, judging, blaming, because you didn't listen to their advice. Even if you made the right choice for yourself, maybe that's not the best person for you to go to for advice if they're that attached to controlling what you do with it or being right, so much that you have to do what they want you to do so that they can feel right, or whatever other psychological things could be, or emotional, mental things could be going on with that. I feel like that's not usually a good sign if people are actually mad at you, and stay mad at you regarding if you don't listen to their advice. So yeah, I think that's about it. There is like a jellyfish showing up here as well for this reading, and what's up with the jellyfish here? I don't know. All this aside, I know like some of these messages might not have been like fun per se with this reading. Maybe some things were like exactly what you needed to hear, but weren't fun. Maybe you were totally cool with it. You're like, oh, thanks for saying that. It's going to be helpful. But I feel like with this jellyfish here, it's like you are going to be rewarded in the future. A lot of your efforts will pay off. I feel like, because I feel like it's about just taking time to be. Like jellyfish just float there usually, kind of. And so what's the message? You're going to be getting time just to be if you need that. Or Let's see here. If you have had this at all in your world, so this might not be all of you, but if you've had people that try to like drag you down, I feel like you're going to be getting freedom from that as well, because they're showing like jellyfish, like their tendrils wrapping around someone and like dragging them down to the depths, which is very active of them. And I don't know, it's probably not what jellyfish typically actually do, but you kind of catch my drift here, where it's like I feel like you're going to be free from that completely if that's something you've dealt with. Or you might get like rewarded with a vacation in some way, shape, or form by the universe in like the next couple months or in the next year. I know that's a long time frame, but I feel like it's going to be great in some way, shape, or form. So definitely receive that and enjoy that. And good work is what I'm hearing, regarding that. So you have rewards coming is kind of the gist of it, though. So I hope that helped, resonated, did whatever was for your highest good. Kind of a different one, it seemed to me, but hopefully that was still what you needed to hear, what was for your highest good, etc. And if you're mad at me for that one, hopefully you'll come to forgive me. And at the end of the day, it was helpful and all that. Felt like a personal reading. Thanks. You're welcome. That's awesome. I always what I like to hear for these. So I'm glad to hear it. You're welcome. Abundance, love, joy. Has confirmed science. Perfect. Glad to hear it, Cooper. Forgiven. Thanks, Cheryl. Very much resonates. Perfect, Kelly. Thank you. Always helpful. Thank you, Lindsay. I'm glad to hear it. You know us fire signs like the direct messages. Yeah. I was going to make a joke, but I don't think it was going to land well. So I was going to make a joke about like punching you in the face with joy or something, but it just didn't. I didn't feel right. Oh, thank you, Kay. I appreciate that. And you know what? As a sensitive person, I think sometimes I overthink how a message might be received when it's something that's a bit more what someone might not want to hear. Maybe that's because of past people's reactions that I need to work through myself in like certain like readings I've done. But I don't know. It's fine. And honestly, never mind. I'm not going to say what I was about to say. No, I understand, Linnea. Yeah, I understand. But I think you know what? Like at the end of the day, sometimes people get mad about that, but sometimes when people are really what's the best thing to say here? Sometimes people really appreciate that, Oh, awesome. Thank you. And your reading out creativity this week helped me have a really productive week. I'm so glad to hear it. And if you'd like that to continue, may it continue for your highest good. I'm really glad to hear that helped. I love when they bring through tough love. Yeah, like some people really appreciate the opportunity for growth and to work on themselves and to become better. I've noticed for myself when I tend to get messages of tough love, I'm very quick to just kind of like, I guess it depends. Maybe there's times that I've reacted and I'm not remembering as much right now, but a lot of the times what I've noticed is I come to a very not weird, but to me, almost weird, eerily silent, and eerie is not the right word, but present place. I'm just like, okay, I need to work on this. Okay, I'm going to work on this. Okay. I've noticed sometimes when people give me feedback, but sometimes the feedback also just isn't true. So it depends on like when I'm getting intuitively on top of what someone's saying. Because usually my guides will like verify it for me, or I'll really see how it connects. I'll be like, oh, okay. But I'll see if they do. Avery asked, does the divine have any advice for my tarot class when it comes to getting students? This might be a little bit obvious, but the first thing I'm hearing is if you have, and you're probably already working on this, by the way, with everything you're doing, but expanding your audience for sure. If you haven't already done that, is going to be really good. There's a few things that I feel called to talk about that they're like, yeah, talk about that. I'm not sure if it's going to be directly exactly what you need to hear, but maybe it'll be helpful for you, and I'll see if they have any more like specific advice for you as well. I've found that showing up, and this is going to sound a little generic at first, but it's not going to be by the end. Showing up and adding value. But by adding value, I mean like really genuinely helping people and having that impact, whether that's through your one-on-one session work with clients, whether that's showing up, on social media, and like genuinely doing your best work to get the results and outcomes for them for the highest good. And also, like, that does a couple things. One, you're actually genuinely helping people. You're connecting with them authentically, hopefully authentically. And you're really giving people a taste of who you are, and that you're showing people who you are. So if it resonates for them that you're a great person for them to work with, learn from, etc., they'll know that's a match. They'll know they like you as a person. They know your content or whatever you're doing helps them genuinely. And then when you go to offer something for sale, that's also going to help them. Because they know you can do it because of what you put out there, and because they like you as a person, and they know you're not going to be like just an angry, mean old grumpy pants at them if they book a reading with you or whatever, they're going to be probably more likely to invest their money and time with you if they know you can do it. They know you've already gotten results for them, so they know your paid work's going to get results for them. They know you're authentic and genuine, and they know have a taste for who you are. So I said that already, didn't I? They know they want to work with you. And, I really feel like that's one of the keys. And it's really weird to talk about this while doing this, because it's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is I'm showing up right now. I'm doing my best to have the highest and best, purest intentions at the same time. Like, I'd really like all my free content to have the highest and best impact possible. That's my intention. That's what I strive for my intention to be possible for people, where I would love that all my free content was good enough that it could impact and change someone's life for the better, just right away, whether it's energetically with the words coming through, all of it, where they may or may not even need the paid content. And that may or may not be bad for business, but I'd prefer it that way. I'd really like to make an impact with it just in general. And same with my paid content. I'd like the second someone buys it, the energies are potent and strong enough that it completely just shifts their world all on its own, or the second they book a reading with me, etc. On top of the content itself being good, the words being good, the messages being good and helpful, impactful, accurate, the work and the energies itself and the work being impactful if they choose, they go through the work, all that stuff, like completely. So I think intention matters as well. When you're building something like this or attempting to, and like, what are your intentions with what you're offering is not a direction I intended to go with what I was saying, but it slipped through. So I guess I'm saying that too. And also, like, maybe like a look at like, what is your intention overall with everything you're doing, and trying to align that, I suppose you could say, and ask that shows up for the highest good. It is weird, but you'd be surprised how much like manifesting that your work is helping people also. And maybe, I don't know, maybe my work was already helping people. I mean, it was. I know it is. I know I've got to a place where my work is good at this point in my journey, thankfully. At the same time, like, manifesting that's good and helping people also can like add to that, I suppose you could say, or help create more of that. Not to limit the work on its own that you've honed your craft with to be able to do it. That's like a starting place. I know that's a bit more like mindset, and maybe a little bit, I don't know, maybe hopefully that's helpful for you, Avery, I believe it was, or someone else who's trying to do this work or build more work, but showing up genuinely, having a genuine impact is really going to help. The other thing that I'd say for you specifically here, if you aren't already doing this, definitely try to have some like free content that aims people towards what the class is going to be about, so they get a taste of what they're going to get out of the class. in some way, shape, or form. And there's times I've done that, like, just kind of unwittingly, and that's just my guys are like, okay, do this. Okay, we're launching this. I'm like, okay. And then there's times, where it's just a good idea. Because one, people are getting something great out of the free thing, so you're helping the world and the people you're being of service to that way. Two, they know what they're signing up for, and it's less of a risk for them to sign up, I suppose you could say. Is that going to help you all, what I just said? You might already be doing those things, so maybe that wasn't helpful at all. But anything else with this here? I feel like you're going to be able to. It may or may not, take time with like building an audience that around that topic and that thing. And I just realized that it might be like a one-time class. You're like, how do I get that out there? I don't know if you want to sit with any specific, like, more practical ground, business stuff where it's also like, if it's like your first class, like maybe you want to offer a discount for the first ever class that you teach, just to get people in the door and show them you can get results and get, if you feel called to, you can be like, hey, I'm offering this for cheap. It's like the first go around. Maybe this isn't for you anymore. This is for someone else. But then you're also like, I'd really appreciate it if you had like gave me testimonials or something and feedback. One, so I know that this class is good. If you don't already know what's good, which you might. But two, so you have that as like when you're bringing your prices back up to normal prices, you're like, I know this is good. People know this is good. People are saying this is good. Here are the results we're getting. It's more of a chance that people will realize this can help them and sign up for it, I suppose you could say. So, Avery, you might be like, this is not what I needed to hear, but I hope that is helpful in any way, shape, or form. Oop, I got mixed in it. So hope that helped, Avery. I don't see any additional comments. So, I just invited someone to go live, and I didn't mean to. So please don't go live with me. I should probably turn that option off. Actually, 1 second, guys. I need to technical difficulties on the floor. I might not be able to do this from here. Oh, well, won't be the end of the world. Oop. Well, I'm glad it was helpful for everybody else. Hope that helped, Avery. Yeah, and like, business coaching isn't something I've quite yet, if I will, been called to like delve into fully around this time, because I've gotten to a certain place with it, and I'm happy to help with what I'm guided to say, with what I've learned. But if I'm being honest, I haven't got to a place where I'm making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and I feel like I can, like, I got this big success and now I can teach you how to, like, that doesn't feel authentic to me to be like, I'm going to be your business coach now. I'm your spiritual business coach. But, like, if I get there, I'll consider it. Or maybe I should say when and manifest it more. But, I have gotten to a certain place, and I'll help with what I do know. And that's, from where I, the best of ability, and especially if it's channeled through to help, awesome. Because I think you can really go above and beyond and channel messages through as well, regardless of the circumstances. And I never want to limit that. But as far as my personal experience, So I'm going to hang out a little bit longer, then we'll start the earth signs reading. I know we're kind of in our, phase with the live right now, where it kind of flows between general readings and talking to people and Brandon, what is lighting you up right now? Oh, my hair's all crazy. Oh, whoop, oh, oh, it's unmuted. Okay. Oh, Prince Priestess wants to know what you're excited about for the rest of your... Oh, I thought I was about to comment on like my physical lighting setup. I'm like, well, I've got these USB lights from Amazon that and maybe I should stop buying from Amazon and buy from different companies going forward too. But I'm working on like where I put my money and what businesses I give my money to. It's a work in progress right now. But what's lighting me up for the rest of the year? Well, what am I excited about? I mean, I do have some trips lined up that'll be cool. So I'm looking forward to those. I also feel like, what's the best thing to say here? I just launched, I'm not trying to make this a sales pitch, but I did just launch the Orange package, and I'm getting all the stuff put together for that to be out there a bit more officially too, which is like, because I've been doing these like channeled MP3s, and it's like the next phase of that, I suppose, for me, or the next addition to that work that I'm doing. So I'm really excited to launch that and get more of that work out there. I feel like I've been working on learning a bit. Funny, you guys ask about business. I feel like I've been working and learning a bit more on like business, and if I'm going to be upfront, marketing, and I'm definitely doing my best to do that in an aligned way, and just learn from the right people who aren't going to be like, not the right fit for what I'm doing. But I'm excited about streamlining my business more, and I don't want to talk too much about that yet until it's like ready to go. But I'm excited for maybe some of the changes that have been made and that are being made regarding all that, and seeing where it goes, and just also seeing like what else the universe opens up for me going forward, perhaps. As far as like what else I'm excited about, it's not like I don't have things I'm excited about. I also just feel like not everything's ready to be talked about yet, in public yet. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a starting place. Oop. 1 second here. Oh, I'm sorry about the bot, guys. 1 second. Oh, they're already blocked. Well, thanks. I think Marina did that. Thanks, Marina, for getting the bots out of here. I appreciate it. Anyways, what was I talking about? I'm excited for the year ahead. We're going to start the Earth Signs reading here in just a second here. Oof. Also, I think this is a great time to say thank you to Marina and any other moderators that are here, who help the live run smoothly and get rid of bots and allow me to focus more on readings and channeling in the live, and goofing off with you guys in between the readings. That's not true. I'm sorry. I take it back. Hanging out, having fun with y'all. So thank you to Marina. Thank you to anyone else who's moderating today and other times. I really appreciate you guys doing that. Thanks, Marina. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to start the Earth Signs reading. So you have an Earth sign, Sun, Moon, Rising. This is meant to be for you whenever you see it. And I'm going to flow with the channeled, I'm going to channel messages from my spirit guides and angels and source for you, just to bring through what would be for your highest good. And we'll see what comes through as we flow with the reading. Flow with the reading. So first thing that's showing up is a snail. And so you might be beating up on yourself right now because you're not making the progress you'd like to see as quickly as you'd like to see. It's a common theme today, but the message is slow and steady wins the race, and like not to rush it, but like trust the time it's taking. There will be ways to ethically, in ways that are for the highest good, and effectively like shortcut it, but not in a shortcut where it's like you're cutting corners and losing out because of it in the long term. It's more like sometimes there are just easier ways to do things. that we don't realize are there or we haven't learned yet or that are coming in. And we'll learn those at the right time for, whatever we're working on, self-improvement or progress. If we're working on channeling, maybe it's even channeling, things like that. So, or intuition. So, slow progress is better than no progress. And eventually, even if you keep it up with slow progress, eventually you have a mountain of progress, even if it takes a year, couple, however long it takes. So don't poo-poo your slow progress, even if you have an area where you think you're moving slowly or you have slow progress. Like, there's nothing wrong with you is what I'm getting. There could be other circumstances at play where, like, if it's something you're working on, like, is the collective ready for what you're working on? Not to toot my own horn with this, but one of the things that has come through for a message for me, and they're telling me to tell you, which is why I'm telling you, is sometimes, for example, like if I'm bringing through accurate messages, which is always my intention, of course, and it's like the truth. Some people don't want to hear the truth. And sometimes the popular thing is someone going up and blowing smoke up everyone's butts, and it's what everyone wants to hear. And then like that person like gets a ton of popularity, or something like that. But it's like, are they really helping people working for the highest good, doing sources work if they're doing that? I'm not saying everyone's doing that. There's great people out there, of course, and you're probably one of them. But don't like beat up on yourself if you're not seeing the same progress as someone else. They might be someone who's doing really great work and it's just their time. They're ready for that. The correct, source has been working with them on that, but don't judge yourself as lesser than someone else in certain instances if you feel like they're shooting past you, because they might not be doing real work, that's gonna last, or it could be a house of cards, but if you're building sustainably, it's gonna last. Not saying you can't have fast progress and success that lasts, I know anything's possible, but bear with me for the reading and the message is trying to come through for you here. The other thing I'll say about that is maybe sometimes you have really authentic, potent work. Not everyone's ready for that. And maybe some people don't actually want transformation. They'll say they do, but they'll take the easy route out every time instead of actually doing the thing that's going to really elevate them, because they'll have to let go of a lot or shift a lot or change a lot, so there's all kinds of situations. But if this is like how this is landing for you, it's not always like all your fault, or there's something wrong with you if you're not getting everything you want right away, even if it's like progress with a target or success on social media or something like that. I'm not sure why that's coming through right now for you guys, and like you can get there. I'm not trying to take away from your possibilities, or there's like so many different things that it could be for different ones of you. Like maybe there's something else that's the right thing you'll be led to that's going to pop off. Maybe more people in the collective will be ready for your work in the future, or are even now becoming ready for your level of work in the future. Maybe you just haven't found your crowd yet that's going to love the next level of your work, and you're working towards that. So just try not to beat up on yourself right now. And they want me to tell you this, so again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. They're telling me to tell you, so I'm going to say it. But there have been times where I've met people who are like readers or something out there who have way more followers on social media, but they're just not as good as me. And I don't mean that to be like, oh, they all suck. Oh, every reader out there with a big following sucks. Yeah. I'm not trying to be like that. It's just like, ostensibly, there might be people with a bigger following than you who aren't as good as you. And it just might work out that way. It could be because of some of the reasons I listed. It could be because they put more work into a certain area that would grow the following, even if they didn't put as much work into being as good at the skill as you. Why am I on this topic so hard right now for you guys? It reminds me of another story I heard from someone named, well, I already mentioned him, but Lee Harris, great channeler. He talks about, a lot of his work and stuff, but he tells this story about how he did an event one time, like a channeling event, like a weekend event, and he charged like a certain amount for this event, like a couple $100 or something for someone to attend for the weekends. And he was talking to the event coordinator who saw a lot of people who like did events like that and things like that. And he's just like, oh, like she started talking about someone else who was doing an event that she was going to or helping with or something like that. He's like, and she talked about how much it cost, and it was way more than Lee Harris's event. And Lee was like, oh, like, he must be like so good. Like he's charging so many like thousands of dollars or, or whatever, however much it was. I don't think he specified the amount. And she's just like, oh no, he's fine. He's no better than you are. Actually, I prefer your work. He just charges more. And so the reason I'm saying all of this is sometimes we have these outward indicators that we think measure someone's worth or value or what they're doing in the world. And it's just not actually. It's maybe it counts for something, and sure, maybe it's something you'd like to have, and I'm not poo-pooing that, and maybe it would help whatever you're trying to do in the world and whatever you're building, but they're redirecting me a little bit with what I'm saying here. But it doesn't like mean they're better or that you need to beat up on yourself or that you're wrong. You might need to find the right thing for you, the right formula for you, or the right things to click into place, or it's a timing thing for you or the world where maybe you're not ready for that level yet. For whatever reason, not that your work's not good or you aren't like skilled at it, it's just some other lessons around it that will, again, allow you to hold it in your life. Man, so hopefully you really wanted that talk. Hopefully this, if it's not like business or social media that you're here for with this message, it could be like something else like love, or some other area of your life, like work, other things like that, where it's like maybe you didn't get promotion because that company's not the right company for you. I'm kind of being redirected, so I want to make sure I'm getting the right messages for you guys that are going to be helpful. So let me rein it back in for a second. Like if it's something that's like regarding love, like maybe like people you keep missing out on like aren't the right people. And sure, maybe they're getting with people who they're not as good for that person as you would be. But maybe okay, bear with me when I say that. Maybe this person doesn't deserve that yet with where they're at. And maybe they treat that other person just as awfully and you don't see that. Or they just haven't learned the lessons of self-value to choose better for themselves. Or you dodged a bullet. And there's just something else that's for you. And the universe is saving your hiney. If you're not getting the specific thing right now that you really would like in your world, in this exact specific way you'd like it right now. And sometimes we don't understand that until we get a taste or we see a bit more of how things play out, or we get a taste of it, of how it would have worked out. And we're like, oh yeah, okay. I see why I didn't get this now. Oh my God. I'm so glad, usually you end up glad that didn't work out, or something better comes along that hopefully makes you forget all about it eventually. Okay, we're going to move on. So hopefully that did something for you there. I'm getting it did. So next thing that we'll get to for the earth sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's just not to beat up on yourself in general. Like just people make mistakes. People who are divinely guided make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Just I hate making mistakes. Well, I don't know if I want to say I hate making mistakes, but I have a story for you. And maybe this will make you feel a little bit better and take some pressure off yourself here. I'll take this thing here, just to be real with you guys here. But in some ways, like, yes, I really do my best to live my divine guidance and my intuition, and that works out all the time. That works out really well. There are some moments in my personal life, and I don't want to like create more of this, so I want to talk about this in the right way where it gets the message across without creating anything I don't want to put out there, to be created. So let me sit with what they'd like me to say here. There have been times where I've made mistakes because I've been in a hurry, or maybe I hadn't really been connecting with my intuition as much and like rushing something. Which actually there's been a lot of message about rushing things today, haven't there been? Or maybe I'm just having a difficult time in that hour for whatever reason. And I just need to like sit and clear my energies before I make any decisions or anything like that or something, And one time I gathered my pants for this wedding I was supposed to go to on a trip. like a friend of a friend's wedding or something like that. And I was getting to go to this for some reason. And I packed my pants, and I was kind of getting like, oh, you should pack a different pair of pants. But I was kind of like, oh, I think it's fine. I think maybe I'm getting it's fine. Like, I don't know. And then I remember I got to this event, and it was like a drive away. I couldn't just drive back and change. It was like 6 hours away, and there weren't any like clothing stores around. I was in the middle of nowhere. And I see this like social media post that was, I knew it was a sign or synchronicity for me. And it was like, oh, have I made a mistake or something like that? And it might've been an ad for something, but like, I knew the energy of a sign. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, universe, please help me rectify the mistake if I made a mistake. And it didn't work out that way at that point. But I unzipped my thing to get dressed, and there was a huge just oil stain on my pants, like right where the crotch was. One, because I didn't quite listen as well as I should have. But two, it was just a mistake on my ends, and it didn't really come out quite well enough by the time, like there was like people who had some like Tide sticks or something, and it didn't quite work. So, and it was like a food stain that I didn't realize was there from like, I think I went to the movies in these pants or something, and the bag of popcorn sat on it and the oil leached into, and I was actually getting not to wear those pants that day to the movies. So it's a double on me not listening message. And then I just had to go through this wedding event just with just a stain like right around my crotch with oil all over. So, I make I don't want to put this out there as in like creating it, but I sometimes make mistakes. So don't beat up on yourself too hard. Like it happens, and sometimes you just have to own that. And like sometimes it keeps you humble sometimes, because I don't, in my daily life anymore, I don't go around like just outward telling people like, oh, I'm a channeler and I get messages and angels are saying this for you right now. Like if I'm guided to say something in conversation, like someone I've never met or I'm not close to, I'll say it, but I'm not gonna I'll say it in a way that works with the conversation that I'm guided to. Not like I'm a medium and your past unloved one. It'll be like, I'm getting to say this. I'm like, okay, have you considered XYZ? Or, I feel like maybe this might be good for you if you tried this, or something like that. If they're not familiar with my work, and because sometimes what happens is like you tell people like, oh, I do channeling work and I'm an intuitive, and then like you make like a small mistake, like someone's coming and they're like, excuse me, and you step to the right instead of the left, and then like it's not like your guide said don't step to the right, you just step to the right, and then they're like, oh no, I'm on your right, and then you have to step to the left. I'm like, oh, very intuitive you. And it just gets like snooty and stupid sometimes. And like people don't let you make mistakes or they're very like, and so I've kind of just learned to keep it quiet and just let myself be guided to work with my intuition and channeling for people. And like I still have access to it in those moments, and it's grown over time, and that happens less, I'd say, but I'm also not like making myself a target with that anymore in my personal life when I am meeting people or anything like that. And I just let it I'll tell them if it comes up and I'm guided to tell them, or if they start to ask, and then we'll get into a conversation that way about it. And I don't know, hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Universe can keep you humble real quick sometimes. But why was I even talking about that? I think what I'm trying to tell you is like, it's okay to make mistakes and have like blunders and like learn from those. Sometimes mistakes are like part of the divine plan, and it's actually a divinely guided thing, and it's like a divinely guided mistake, and it's a happy accident, and it works out perfectly, and it's exactly what was supposed to happen. But if you're just beating up on yourself too much, just don't, is what I'm trying to say to you in so many ways. Or maybe those stories helped you in some way, or told you something you needed to hear somehow. What else would be fast good for me to get to for you guys about that, or anything else here? Okay, really what I'm hearing is like some of you are just beating up on yourselves too much, either regarding like past mistakes or like current situations, and it's like not helping. And it's like, if you were just kind of take the load off and like let it be what it was and like sit with it, or work through some of those patterns maybe where you learn to beat up on yourself, whether it's from your parents or from another lifetime or whatever, whatever it is, like that's probably going to be more helpful than like thinking it's normal to always beat up on yourself, or allowing that to be a pattern that persists. with everything there. I just feel like you deserve better, honestly. And I know it can take some unlearning and some work and maybe some effort. Maybe not. Maybe it'll just kind of shift. But that's kind of what I'm getting with that one. So, man, Tiger's showing up again today for you for the Earth signs. But there's like, it also looked like wasn't a panther. It was like a cougar or something. So let me see what is going on with this big cat showing up for you here. So the message, another common message today is I am getting it is time for you to ascend in a big way and like take leaps and bounds higher in your trajectory. And this could be in business. This could be in like your vibration and frequency and spiritually. But I feel like you're ascending really rapidly. So self-care is going to be key for you in this time period. Like really take breaks, really like take time, the appropriate amount of time to rest for yourself. In addition to, if you need to tackle what you need to do what you need to do, but make sure you're doing extra for yourself around your work or whatever you're doing. Don't put yourself in too many situations that you don't need to, that you're going to need to like recover from excessively on top of what you're going through. Like if you have a social event that you know is going to suck and like drain you and you're getting not to go, like don't go, if you're going to have to recover like all this time on top of like you recovering from like the ascension, whatever you're going through, it could be a lot. And then you probably have work on top of it and you don't need to miss out on, things you need to do. So just take extra care of yourself right now. Cause you're really shifting, and sometimes we're shifting things and we don't think it should take as much of a tax on us or hit us as hard, but it does. And you're actually transforming something deeper than you realize, with like a shift you're making in your external world even. The example I hear is really interesting. Like, why am I feeling so emotional about brushing my teeth 2 times a day, or adding in flossing when I know I need to floss and I haven't been flossing, or, even if it's a small thing, sometimes you're rewiring a pattern that's a little bit deeper than you expected energetically. And you're working on a bigger pattern overall than you realize with a small shift, or seemingly small shift that it's going to lead you in a different direction overall with whether it's your well-being or whatever it is. So again, be gentle on yourself, and self-care is really going to be key right now with everything going on. I feel like you have a lot running through your system right now. If you're doing healing work for others, it could be like the healing work you're bringing through for others, the work you're doing for others. You could, I don't want to put this on you, but it could be other people's things you're picking up on that you didn't realize were yours, and you're working on releasing that like for good, and you're working on not doing that anymore. I don't feel like any of you are doing that too badly, but I feel like if that's been a pattern in the past, it might be time to work on that again, just in case, or double check in with that yourself and make sure you're good with that, or do something every day to help with that, just to make sure you're good regarding that. What's next here? But there's a lot running through your system, so you're probably going to need rest is what I'm getting. So just keep that in mind. Next thing here with this tiger or this thing showing up here. So they're showing this big cat about to pounce on this prey, and it's like a rabbit, and it's like this rabbit between rocks. But it's like this tiger's being guided to pass up on this one rabbit so it can get like a bunch more rabbits in the future. Like there's a huge group of them that it would be satiated by if it waited on this one rabbit, and like maybe it follows it back to its rabbit hole, and then it can get more. I know I'm being a little bit graphic, but bear with me. This is just the way it's showing up as an example. Maybe the rabbit leads it back to its rabbit hole or rabbit friends, and then he gets a full meal instead of just a little rabbit out of it. But sometimes we're guided away from an opportunity that seems really good, but it's so we can have a bigger and better one. So like sometimes we have to say no to something to say yes to the bigger thing, or the priority, I suppose you could say. So you might have a lot on your plate, and maybe people are trying to put more on your plate, but it's like not a big thing right now or a big deal right now for you to tackle it. So I'd really trust your intuition and your guts on, do I tackle this now, or do I wait for a bigger opportunity? Or do I put a bunch of work into this right now, or is there a bigger thing right around the corner? Because you might have someone show up, they're like, hey, what's the best way to say this? An example I could use is maybe you used to do driveway paving and someone shows up and like, hey, I know you used to do this. Can you pay my driveway for like X amount of dollars? And you're like, oh, that I could use the money. That seems nice. But if you're getting like no, and you say no, it's like all of a sudden the opportunity for like the thing you actually really want to do that aligns with like your new business or whatever you do shows up, and it's like your big break or something like that. But you had to say no to the thing that wasn't really for you, or like was just the smaller thing in order to get your bigger thing, you know, that was meant for you. So just pay attention to how it feels in your body with different opportunities, because if something feels heavy or doesn't feel quite right, probably a no, or it is a no. And there's probably a better opportunity is what I'd say, like down the road or right around the corner, or in a second. So trust your gut with all that. I know that's going to be personal to you, but let's see what else I'd like to go with everything here. I feel like that was kind of the message with that one as well. They keep going back to this ascension topic for you guys right now for some reason, which is interesting. I used to be, okay, what would you guys like me to tell them? Please guide me. Okay, what I'm getting is it going to be a topic that's rising a bit more? It's kind of a bit more in the collective field of people's awareness, whether they realize that's what it is or not, or they have a different word for it. It doesn't matter. And I'm not necessarily attached to the word ascension myself, but it's going to be more of a conversation among spiritual groups. I know it's already can be a big conversation, but I feel like it's going to be bigger. Even like I'm hearing the words like, is it layperson, who's someone who's not really in like a field or something like that, but or like maybe even normal people are going to be hearing about it or noticing things are different. As far as why it's important to let you know it's going to be a bigger topic, it's just kind of letting you know like there are really big collective shifts that are happening, and you're going to be a part of that in the way your personal world unfolds. Maybe you're going to be some of you directly teaching about that or talking about that, whatever it is you do. Maybe some of you are just holding space for that. Maybe you'll be talking to one person about it, but that's your job, you know, regarding that topic, not your whole job. If you have like other things you do for finances, you know, besides that, whatever, there's nothing wrong with that either. That's not better or worse than someone else. Where are we going with this? So it's going to be a topic, just be prepared. You're going to be hitting that energy. People are going to have questions. There is misinformation in some instances out there about it from certain people who gain from people being misinformed about it is something I'm hearing. That might be fewer or further between, but just keep that in mind. Like not everyone's the right person to listen to about that. Especially if they're like, give me money so you can ascend and that's the only way to ascend. Like, no. What I keep getting is like, if you're on earth and you're open to ascension, you're ascending. There's not like you can't miss the boats. You can't miss the bus. It doesn't matter if you miss that person's meditation or ascension event or whatever. You can ascend on your own, is what I'd say. I get frustrated with that personally. But for some reason, you're going to be a part of it. You're going to be seeing it. You're going to be part of that energy. It's going to be hitting your world. So just be prepared for it. And in some ways I'm hearing like, make sure you have your ducks in a row, like regarding like self-care, spiritual work, things like that, just so you're prepared to handle that or talk to other people about it if you're called to. And in some ways, maybe it's just a heads up. I don't know why I'm talking about it, you know, beyond that too much right now as far as what I'm getting. But next thing they're showing me is a whirlpool. And I'm hearing the words, nothing's going to go down the drain. I feel like you're afraid of losing out or things really falling apart, and it's not going to. So that's some good reassurance for, you know, that's some good confirmation for you maybe about that. I just feel like you're afraid of everything going down the drain in some level, and it's just not going to. Like, you're fine is what I'm getting. Like, if you feel like you're in a whirlpool, you'll escape the whirlpool. You'll be able to save the day, or the whirlpool will just disappear and it wasn't a big deal in the first place. It just seemed like it. Which is why I'm again being called to talk about this, I guess, just to be mindful of or aware of yourself regarding fear mongering that's out there, like spiritually or just in general, or even in like the economy. Because you might be afraid of a whirlpool and that's not there. or you might be on a ship that's not sinking, but everyone's saying it's sinking. But you're like, I think it's fine, but everyone's freaking out. But then the boat just gets to the other shore just fine, and everyone's just like still freaking out. And you're just like, I guess I'll get off the boat. Like, why are you all staying on this boat? We're at shore. Like, I don't know. I'm getting weird examples with this, but trust your intuition with all of that, because people are afraid of things they don't need to be afraid of right now, and like regarding a lot of different things. And you don't need to get wrapped up in that, and make rash decisions based on that if you can help it. So do your best to keep a level head here. One more thing that we'll get to before we kind of close out for this reading. They're showing the moon here. So let me see what's up with the moon. So you know how, I mean, you could say this about the sun or all the planets in astrology, but when the moon hits different signs in the sky, like there's like a different energy or meaning to it. Or like when you have the full moon in this sign, it's like this XYZ. It's almost like your life is doing that, or it's almost like, and maybe this is happening astrologically for you in some way, but I feel like this is like bigger and overarching probably, where it's like, if you visualize your life as hitting these different phases, it's like entering into a quote unquote new sign, metaphorically, where the energy is just different. So you might be really used to things being a different way, and like maybe even being stuck in that energy, like almost no matter what you do, but it's like time to shift out of it. So you're going to notice your life themes shift in a potentially big way. You're going to notice your focus shift onto what's important, and what's important is going to be highlighted for you. And I just feel like you're hitting a phase where everything's different. It's in a good way is what I'm getting, but it's different. It's something that's, sometimes it's unsettling when we're used to everything being a certain way, operating a certain way in our world, and like that whole personal economy shifts. What I mean, like the whole thing like shifts, and you kind of have to either become a different person because of it, or just realign with a new identity, or figure out how the new flow works, I guess, in some ways. So just keep that in mind, like you're entering this new phase, and it might be uncomfortable, even if it's really positive. And I feel like you're leaving a lot of trouble behind is what I'm getting, which is fantastic. So I hope that helped resonate to whatever is for your highest good. They're showing me Saturn for some reason as a planet. And they're showing Saturn's like ring going away and like kind of like fading away into dust, but it's almost like signifying like the challenge is leaving in some way, like your life, or a challenge is leaving, or you'll see your way through challenge, or maybe you'll get stronger, so the challenge is nothing, but in some way, shape, or form, like you're overcoming that, and there's some type of challenge that's leaving that you've learned the lesson from. So good on you. So that's it. Hope that helped, resonated. Did whatever is for us good. We're going to move on to the air signs in just a second, and then we'll hang out for a second, of course. Very on point. Perfect. Glad to hear it. You're welcome, Jackie. You're welcome, Sasha. That's huge, the authentic mystic. I'm super glad to hear it. You're welcome, abundance, love, joy. You have a great week too, Melissa. They're telling me I need to start air. I know we just finished the earth signs, and sometimes I kind of hang out between readings. I'm going to take a swig of water. FYI, in love with the business advice. It is really hitting for a lot of us. Oh, thanks for letting me know, Jessica Johnson, because I know I don't always read chat when that's happening, but I'm glad to hear it's hitting and helping, and doing what it needs to do. Because sometimes those are difficult lessons, you know, to watch happen, or experience for yourself. So is what I'm hearing to say. But it doesn't always mean you're doing it wrong, you know. I mean, I'd still put in the work to learn, grow, get better, see what you can adjust. That's, you know, hone your craft, all that stuff. I'm not saying don't try to get better. It just someone said that listening while painting with my cat on my lap. Oh, that sounds awesome. You're welcome. Someone said something that they were a fire sign, but the earth sign resonated. Perfect. I'm glad to hear that. Excuse me. As long as you get what you need, that would be for your highest good and the highest good. I do also, you guys, most of you probably know, but I repost these on YouTube afterwards, usually, hopefully tomorrow, but usually in the next couple of days. So if you miss a reading and you want to catch it, it will be usually up there unless there's technical difficulties where the live doesn't save to be, downloaded and redistributed afterwards. Everything has resonated, sign regardless. Hey, I'll take that. That's awesome. Yeah, water signs are going to be last, Rebecca, and then we do a full channel mode message afterwards usually, unless I'm getting to skip it. And there might be some energy conservation I need to do where I skip it today, so we'll see. Just as, I guess, heads up for that. We're going to start the air sign, sun, moon, or rising. So this is for you when you see it, excuse me. So I'm going to delve into the channel. Sorry, we're going to delve into the channel messages from my spirit guides, the angels and source that are coming through for you right now. And the intuitive messages, that would be for your highest good. And we're just going to flow with that and see what comes through for you here. The first message I get, big cats have been rampant the past couple weeks and just readings and stuff, and big cats showed up, but the message was instantly like, they kind of just showed me a big cat's butt walking away, like out of in between like ferns or something. But the message I heard instantly was walking away. I'm hearing a weird message first and foremost, like don't walk away from yourself and what you need, or like it seems like a common theme sort of, but don't sacrifice yourself for other people right now too much. You have to have a balance, and it doesn't serve the collective, even if you might think it might, to sacrifice your well-being for another's, even though there's all these stories like, there's romance stories, there's action adventures stories and movies, there's freaking Jesus stories for, all that about like how sacrifice good, even if it's like at the expense of the hero or the protagonist or whatever. But it's like not always the best way to operate, and real life does not have to emulate stories. Is a possibility for you that maybe you can, that's a hint for you, something I'm getting, where maybe you can manifest something better. Or manifest something above and beyond the common experience perpetuated by that, I suppose you could say, or created by that. Our lives don't have to mirror the stories we watch that we don't desire to experience. I don't know why I'm on this kick right now, but all that being said, like you keeping in a balanced place and focusing on like a win-win, for example, and not sacrificing yourself for the world or other people, going to lead to best results is what I'm getting, because you're part of the world and the collective. And like, what's the best way to explain this? It's sometimes I know it's like unavoidable and we kind of have to do the hard thing. We have to kind of grit through it. We have to do our thing. And I get that. And I'm not saying don't do that if you have to do that. But at the same time, it's kind of like, if you go to eliminate the suffering of a group you're a part of, but you're suffering to eliminate the suffering in the group, you're still part of the group and suffering in the group, unless there's still suffering in the group. And other people might be picking up on that, for example, or it doesn't mean that energy is gone. Like it's still there in the world. If that makes sense. Like, I don't want to like put this out there too much, but if you think of like as above, so below, it's like kind of how some people will talk about, like, if you want to bring joy to the world, like bring joy to yourself. Or if you want to bring peace to the world, like focus on bringing peace to yourself and your life and holding that frequency there. Because that's kind of bringing peace. That's having an impact, on the rest of the world and the collective, more than you realize, perhaps even. So, that's kind of what they're saying with that message, honestly. Like sometimes we think we're helping everyone, and like, yeah, maybe we kind of are, but it's like, at what cost? And are we really helping as much as we think, where long-term or overall, where that's like the right move? And that being said, like, I don't think it's healthy to people please to the point that your life is in tatters or you're sacrificing overly much and having a terrible time in the first place. I don't think that's healthy to you. And I think that should be enough as a message without me having to go into the rest of the explanation as well, if that makes sense. So, which it probably totally does. But next message next message they like to get to for you though here. We're kind of still on the same kick though. If you are like running yourself, same kick, if you're running yourself ragged for people, stop, find a more balanced approach. If you're running yourself ragged in your life, like stop. It's time to find a more balanced approach to life. You're not meant to be at the whim of other people or all the energies around you. We're to the point you don't have your own life, and it's just running yourself ragged for everyone and everything else. And even if you think some of the running yourself ragged is for you, try to do things that balance that out anyways, also for you. So try to give yourself some self-care for you, and stuff like that. I think that's going to be probably a better approach. So next thing they're going to get to here, it's about miracles. I definitely would be calling miracles into something I'm getting. Like you can definitely manifest miracles and live in that energy or call that energy in. It's totally possible. Your job is to call it in right now and cultivate that energy. So Source, please bring me miracles today. Source, please bring me miracles in my life. Angels, I'm asking for miracles. Universe, please bring me miracles. Help me to live miraculously. I don't know. Or live in the energy of miracles, so I'm always attracting them. Whatever works for you, however you conceptualize it, whatever you've noticed works for you with manifestation and stuff like that. But I feel like that energy is needed and it's possible to show up for you. But for this instance, they're saying, ask for it. And if you need to do some work to cultivate that energy, cultivate that energy. It's going to be helpful for sure. And I think sometimes we neglect some of the miraculous things as an option. As far as being responsible with the messages, I mean, I just trust what I'm guided to bring through. But honestly, I don't know if I think always banking on a miracle 24/7 is always the best way to live our lives. If you're like if you're banking like lottery or bust and that's like your whole life, or it's like lottery or I don't make money, or it's like, for example, it's that might not be a balanced way for you to go about your world at all. But if you're doing what you need to do and you're calling in energies and living in the energy of miracles all the time, I feel like you really can live in a magical, miraculous reality for yourself 24/7 and cultivate that and create that for yourself, whether that takes work or not for you at this juncture of where you're at in life. And it will take some work is what I'm hearing. Sorry to burst your bubble if you were like, I'm just going to sit here and miracles will happen, which they can. But, that's what I'm getting to say to you right now about all of that. So call those in, live in that energy to the best of your ability, sit in that frequency if you can, and just invite it in every day. See what shows up, keep inviting it, see what shows up. Eventually things are going to turn in your favor with all that. And there's a lot of magic for you if you do that, I suppose you could say, or if you keep going with that. So the next thing we're going to get to here, they're showing me birds. Like they give me the word condor, but they also show me like a goose, like a goose flying in a flock of geese. It was probably a Canadian. I don't know if people are like, what kind of goose, but probably a Canadian goose. I'm not sure how many different types of geese there are out there. I've yet to become a goose connoisseur, but we'll see what happens. How like sometimes someone sends you like an animal to like put in your house and like you put it in the kitchen and then everyone's like, oh, they like that animal. And then everyone starts sending you that animal. I'm going to have Goose Kitchen up in here after this reading, but actually, please don't. Next, what they're kind of showing with this goose though, as far as the message for you, let's see here. Again, sometimes when they show me these different birds, it's about like a long journey. If you think of geese, they migrate for thousands of miles to Florida with the old people to, retire for 6 months. And then they fly back to Canada to eat the Canadian plants and whatever, I don't know. Uh, but with this long journey here that's showing up with the birds and the geese and all that here, there is like a finish line and completion. What I'm getting is regarding long journeys up ahead right now, or maybe you've just finished a project and you're hitting completion in your world in somewhere and there's like more long journeys ahead. Once you hit completion with certain things, or you hit certain cycles wrapped up or something like that, make sure what you tackle next is really what you'd like to tackle. Not just the same old thing because that's your routine and habits, because it's like a long journey. Like these are like phases of your life. These are like cycles of your life. And sometimes it's tempting to just like stick with the same old thing because it's comfortable and you know what to expect. But if your heart's calling you to something new, and you know it's about time to wrap something up, and you know you'll have this chance to like move to something new in some way, I would probably do it, or really sit with that for a second and just make sure, like, if you're hitting these finish lines, it's like, what would you really like to go towards next? Or what are you really called toward next? That's for you. That your heart, soul, or the universe are calling you towards. Because like long journeys are typically something you kind of have to stick with for a while. It's like an energy you're in for a while, and you might not just want to choose the same old thing again, is kind of what I'm hearing. So maybe contemplate that. If you notice any finish lines hitting, or chances for new beginnings rising up, or like, again, example, it could be an opportunity to leave a job. Could be like, maybe you're offered a promotion, but it's like, is this the right promotion for me? I guess things like that. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Maybe, nope, they don't want that example. So moving on to the next thing here. They showed me the color red. This is about transformation. Sometimes the color red to me, not always, and I know this isn't every framework and it can depend on the intention you're putting on what you do with things, but color red can signify transformation to me. One thing I've heard as a practice that some people do. I'm not sure exactly where this originated from, but I don't know. I heard it from someone who's good. So it wasn't just like some rando bambo said something on the internet. I'm like, ooh, color red. But if you get like an object like from the thrift store, someone gifts you and you like to repurpose it, and it might have something to do with like repurposing the energies as well. I'm not sure if it has to do with clearing old energies away, but you like wrap it in the red cloth for like a day or like for a certain amount of time to like repurpose this thing as like a intention or ceremony or something like that. And so in this way, the color red can symbolize transformation when they show this to me as a symbol in the reading and they tell me that's what it means. So, but this is like, let me see what they like to go with this here. I feel like there's transformation happening from the ground up, like in life for you. It could be part of this long journey message as well, where it's like things really have a chance to go in a different direction or be like completely transformed. But it like starts with like one choice, or the choice to go in a new direction, or this opportunity that you take that begins to change everything, like through a cascade of changes maybe, or maybe it transforms you and then you transform everything in your life. Either just vibrationally, it just happens, or you start being called to do different things because you're transforming, and that changes things up because you're making different choices left and right after your transformation. But the opportunity for that is there. So if you'd like that, one, I'd invite that in. But two, I feel like that energy is going to be strong with you for a while, where transformation's kind of like always right within reach, or like always right around the corner if you choose it. You're going to have a lot of opportunities for a lot of change. I almost like want to recommend, what I'm getting to recommend is to capitalize on much of it as you can. Because it's like change is what's going to lead you to what you desire, not necessarily things staying the same long term. Like maybe I'll say it again for the people in the back. Change is going to lead to what you desire, not keeping things the same long term. And maybe that's difficult to hear, but that's maybe not. That's just what I'm getting right now. So I'd be like gunning for transformation in a way, actually. Might sound weird, but that's what I'm getting as a recommendation for you right now, because that opportunity is there and it's going to lead you to where you want to go overall. And like transformation is just going to be happening, but if you're running with it, it's going to be like more powerful. and really help is what I'm getting here. So let me see where they'd like to go next here. They're showing me selenite. They're showing this like mountain of selenite almost, or this like gigantic to the piece that like someone was like a rock climber is like climbing up the side of this like selenite here. So let me see what is up with this here. So I'm going to have to clarify this one. There might be an exacerbation of difficulty temporarily before it like releases in your life, or it's like clearing, but it might take some time. Or some of you are actually about to get to the top and like overcome this like challenge or difficulty in your world soon. Let me see what they're saying here. Because the selenite kind of represents like clearing, right? Like clearing away difficulty. And so like, again, you might notice it kind of like, I forget what this is called. I think it's like homeopathic remedies where you use it and then like the issue kind of like gets worse like a little bit right before it changes. And then it's like, boom, it just like releases and shifts for the highest good. I don't have a ton of experience with like homeopathic type stuff. And maybe I'm even using the wrong word. Maybe homeopathic isn't the right thing, but I remember I got an ear drops thing because my ear like a couple of years ago like clogged up with earwax. It was so annoying because it's like you're not supposed to use Q-tips, but if you don't use Q-tips and it clogs up, then it's like, well, what was I supposed to do? Like nothing seems to be the right move according to you guys. So not you guys as them, but like, you know, the people in the world. And I actually haven't had it clogged up in a while anyways. So maybe it's fine if you don't. I don't know. Maybe it's fine. But anyways, that happened. I used the homeopathic ear drops and like on the bottle, it's like, oh, symptoms may like worsen before they get better after like 3 days or something like that. And it's kind of what happened. Like it was still tight and it would get like a little bit tighter. And then it just like, it just like released while at a certain, it released at a certain point and cleared. And I've been fine ever since. Thank the Lord. But thank the universe, thank God, thank spirit, thank source. Thank Great Spirit. I'm going to use every name. But whatever. You know, that's kind of what they're showing about as far as challenges for you. Maybe I should get to the point a bit faster. That's what they're showing, but as far as like challenges for you, is like it might be like a little bit worse and then it's like clears. So like maybe you're like really sensitive and you're like picking up on a lot, and then you have a day where it just gets like way worse. You're like, I can't even go outside, and then it's just like woof, like you either hear the right thing you need to hear to put something in place, or it just lifts and you kind of suddenly get the right mindset or approach where it just kind of, you know what, you're just doing it and it's fine. Or maybe source just helps you out as an example. But keep that in mind right now. Like if certain challenges get slightly worse, like they might be about to get better long term if you stick with it. And I feel like I need to be careful with that message actually. So let me see if they'll clarify it to help you out. The thing that they're saying, like if it gets worse, it'll get better in like a couple days, like not a few weeks or something like that. So don't be holding out for a month if like something gets worse, like, oh, it's about to get better. You know, if that is the way it shows up for you, it might be time to like change. Might be time to try something else. Excuse me. If it's exacerbated for like a while, or something like that. So, and I don't know why I'm going to say this, but if you have a medical issue, maybe it's good to see a doctor about it. Legal disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. Choose wisely regarding your health and stuff like that. So there's at least one more message they'd like to get to for you here. They're really liking balloons today, I guess, too, as a sign, but let's see what's up with this balloon. They're showing this balloon getting popped, and they're giving me the words like party pooper, and there's like this sad person or this like sad clown in the background as this balloon gets popped here. One thing they're kind of recommending for you guys is do your best not to be a party pooper for others if someone else has something they're really excited about in their life, like a friend or a loved one. Try not to like rain on people's parades right now. Like just do your best to be like excited for people or happy for people. There's a bit of advice they're telling me to tell you that could be helpful right now. And it's weird sometimes how these things work, but sometimes even if we don't feel the thing, it helps to tell ourselves the thing. And then we kind of shift the energies, and then I'm going to have to explain this. experience the thing. So I've had this happen a couple times. Like gratitude's one of them, where I remember one time I was going through this exercise for gratitude, and this person said like you were supposed to kind of like, or it was recommended you repeat like the thing that they were saying if it felt right to you. And the thing this person who was leading this said is like, I'm grateful for every experience I've had in my life up to this point. It could have been like that got me here or something like that. And I'd recently been through some stuff, and stuff that it's, I don't know. I was going to say maybe I'm still recovering from it, but nope, I guess I'm good now. So cool. But stuff at the time I was like, there's no way. I am not grateful for this. Like, I'm just not. Like, this has been like some of the worst stuff I've been through. At that point, at least. And my guys were like, say it anyways, like say it. And so I said it. And what was weird was like the energy around it and how I felt about it transformed to gratitude. And then like, it just like things around it like released, and all of a sudden I was feeling better about it. And this wasn't like, I don't think it was haunting me quite the same after that at all. Like I actually felt a lot better, and it brought gratitude to it and like transformed at least how I was at that moment about that experience or that past experience, at least in my current reality. But maybe it transformed it in the past energetically. But no, that's not what that was. But that's also a different discussion about healing the past, which you can do, but I digress. The other thing that is interesting is sometimes if you're like I've heard other people talk about this too, with like, if you see other people who are successful and you're like, or maybe even they're rich, and maybe your programming from your parents has been like, oh, rich people bad, those stinky, dirty rich people, being awful. And maybe they're the kindest person you've ever met, by the way. You could be kind and have a great life and be beautiful and, as a person is what I meant, have great connections and love and be rich. Like, we don't need to limit it. But, maybe if you're just like, oh, I'm happy for you. Or like, oh, bless you in your abundance. I'm happy for you that you have this great thing in your life or something like that. Maybe that would help you transform jealousy or like your programming into like, you're actually starting to genuinely feel happy for people. And then you have an easier time receiving those things that you're, maybe had difficulty receiving or we're feeling jealous about or whatever. So, sending blessings people's ways is always better than sending ill will, is something I'm being guided to say as well for anyone who needs to hear it. It's always going to bring better to you. And that doesn't mean you like give the shirt off your back away to those people energetically. It's more just like, source, bless those people. Should it be in the highest good? Or source, help them in ways that would be for their highest good right now. And we don't have to, judge what that is if we're not getting a message about what that would be or an intuition about what that would be. We don't have to be like, I hope they learn these hard life lessons because they're rich. We could just be like, source, just bring in what would be for their highest good. Thanks. Is an example. Not that all of you are like that about rich people either. Some of you are, but that's just something to consider regarding all that. Or it could be love. You'd be like, oh, I'm happy for you. You have this great love in your life. Oh, I'm happy for you that you are doing so well right now in your job or whatever. And I think sometimes that can help open up the opportunity for us to experience that too, as opposed to like, not that you are holding it at arm's length if you do that, but you're not necessarily inviting it in either, if that makes sense. And I think it'll just help you if someone needed that, it would help them be a better person and help them transform their mindset and wiring for the highest good regarding that, at least. And even if it's just mental wiring or beliefs or whatever. Okay. What else do we need to get to for you guys today that would be helpful for you? Oh, by the way, what they want me to get to next with that is you can kind of do that with anything. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be, I'm happy for you or whatever. It doesn't have to be, I'm grateful for all my terrible things that have happened to me in my life or whatever, or happened for me, or however you want to phrase that for yourself. It could be like when you notice something and you're like getting like that thing come up, you're like, oh, well, I'm noticing this person has this awesome thing. What will it take for me to have awesome things for me that are like that for me, or something like that? Or like, it's just kind of like switching it up where it's like, you're not just like Bah, bah, bah. I don't know. And maybe you don't have a problem with that. Maybe someone in your life does, and this will remind you to tell them something about it. Maybe you did, and this hopefully helps you to make your life better as well. But for some reason, they seem to want to talk. They said something about that, and I got on that, and that came through. So for some reason, that came through today. I feel like we're done. Actually, there is like giraffe spirit animal showing up here. There's weird things with this giraffe, like psychic abilities and hypnosis are two like themes coming up with this giraffe here. They're really bringing this reminder for you to really make sure you have modalities that work for you. And not that you don't, but really get results for you and your clients, and you really feel good about them in your guts and intuitively. If you're someone who has clients, like make sure you're not just like winging it with them. I don't know who I'm saying this to right now, or just like making things up on the fly. Like, why am I saying this? Make sure you're like practiced, you know what you're doing, you know you can get results, that you're going to get results for people here. But I just really am getting this recommendation to really make sure you feel good about your methods is what I'd say, and what you're working with. The other thing I'm getting to say, even if you feel good about and I'm not saying hypnosis is bad or wrong and that you shouldn't use it, because I don't have a lot of experience with that, if I'm being honest, where I would feel called to say one way or another. If I were to get a message on it, I feel like it's fine if you really align with that and you're the right practitioner, or if you're the recipient, you have the right practitioner for you, who's good at what they do with it. Kind of like, Metallica wouldn't just have any old guitarist out of their bedroom join their band. They'd probably seek out the right fit regarding that. I don't know if modality of music works to say guitar, but you know what I'm saying. The other thing I'm kind of getting is, and there might not be anything wrong with the current modalities you're working with, and it's working for you and you're great, but don't be afraid to expand that, maybe even if you'd like to go further or bring in some other things and see what else is out there that you can incorporate to help people if you're working with modalities like that. For others, maybe hypnosis is just a sign for you in some way, and that's telling you to go a certain direction. And that's kind of separate from the message I'm getting right now with it. Regarding the psychic aspect of the giraffe here, sorry if you can hear other people on the phone in the backgrounds, but we're in the psychic aspect here. This kind of seems to be a common message right now, but psychic abilities are expanding a lot for people. I feel like you're going to be making like strides and lengths with that. Just know that that's rising, I suppose you could say, with all that. I feel like anywhere you can bring intuition into what you're doing, that's going to be important. It's like any field. I don't care if you're a mechanic. If you're like someone who's working on their intuition and bringing that into whatever field you're in, I feel like that's going to be really helpful, and you could probably help a lot of people, even if it seems like a more mundane field or something like that. Okay, so I feel like I'm done. Hope that helps, resonated, do whatever is for your highest good. I feel like there was more with that giraffe though, so I do feel like it's time to stretch yourself and grow and kind of leave your norm and leave your comfort zone right now. That could be part of that modality thing that was coming through. That could be part of you growing right now, but like I wouldn't really stay in a comfort zone if you have the opportunity to try something new, even if it's just a slight stretch that's going to get you infinitely further than just staying with what you know right now, or just, I don't know, playing small or whatever you want to say. Hope that helped, resonate, do whatever's for you guys good here. We're going to do the water signs next. Yep. Beep, boop, bop. So hope that helped. Hope that wasn't too much tough love for all you. Oh my gosh. Brandon, please offer Reiki 3. Okay, I'll put that up for November or December. Sorry about that. I know that's been a while. Will do. Water. Thanks for the reminder, T time VA, if I'm saying that right. Spot on again. Thank you. You're welcome, Goddess TD. Ooh, got the message today to formalize your methods and use more intuition. Sounds right on target for you, and you're ready for that, so that's exciting. You're going to help a lot of people. Abundance, love, joy is something they're adding in for you, so that's cool. That's great. And I feel like it's more than you realize too. So not to turn this into a personal reading, but that just came through. I feel like no modalities resonate with you. That's okay. Maybe that modality wasn't, or sorry, oh my God, maybe that message, well, modality obviously, but maybe that message wasn't for you, or there'll be just different things that resonate for you that might be modality lists going forward. Had a major art critic give me a good review. That's exciting. Congrats, Rochelle. May that continue. Lame 9 to 5 chick, is that your username? I'm not calling you lame, but oh, it was the lame chick. Sorry, lame 9 to 5 chick. Sorry, you said something about 9 to 5. You said you've been strongly pushed toward exploring the, working with your gifts, turning away from your 9 to 5. And my God, you're like, yep. When I saw that comment, so I thought I would share that. and it was specifically for you because they showed an angel like pointing at the comment, and they're like, yep. So it wasn't like, all this hit so deeply. Thank you. You're welcome. Like the new background. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm trying different angles. I really like this one. So I'm glad you guys like it too. Should I try and center it? I get so wrong way. I get so particular. Yeah, much better. Love your vibe. Thanks so much. Always and forever. I appreciate that. You're welcome, Gigi. Getting the angles right, important. Sorry, it just hit me that could be taken the wrong way, but that's okay. So, is there black and green background for some reason? This is just what I have on the walls for sound treatment in this room. That's why that's there. And that's just what I had. All right, so I need to start the water signs reading now. So we're flowing into that. We're starting the reading. My dad owned a sound paneling company. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I honestly probably need more foam. This has helped, but I think I still could use a bit more treatment in here. Could just EQ for the room would work better. Probably for this. Yeah, the thing that I was worried about was the reverb, the echo in the room. Because there was a lot more echo in here before I put the foam up, I think. So it's actually more just to, and maybe that's what you meant too, and maybe you have more sound engineering experience. I used to do a lot of music and recording and some mixing, so I'm not, I don't know if I'd call myself a pro with the mixing and sound engineering portion. But yeah, I don't know if there's a way to post-production get rid of that like echo as well. So it's just, I'm trying to help with that. Yeah. But you're probably totally right about EQ. Oh no, you're totally good, James. I totally hear you. And you were probably right as far as like the actual sound of my voice. So I'm gonna start the water signs reading now. So if you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising, this will be for you when you see it. Yeah, sorry for the pause there. So if you have, oh my God, I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm just going to say it all in a line without pausing. This is for you if you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising. I'm going to flow with the channel messages coming through from my spirit guides, angels, and source for your highest good. Just whatever you need to hear, whatever would be helpful for you for your highest good. So, and working with my intuition and what I get for you for your highest good regarding all that. So let's start your reading with all that. So we've kind of had some recurring themes here as far as like the things that would show up for your reading. So jellyfish is one of the first ones that showed up. They're really highlighting the squishy, whenever I've actually touched a jellyfish, which is not recommended, by the way, like on a beach, I've particularly noticed how not squishy it is, despite how squishy it looks. It's a little bit unnerving. It's not really, but on a weird level sometimes. But let me see what they have to say about this one here, about the squishy jellyfish for you. Sometimes we're really rigid in life with like the direction we want to go and with what we want to accomplish. Or maybe sometimes we've been through a lot and we become really rigid or maybe even cold with others. This is recommending having the right amount of give to your flow with other people, what you're moving towards in life, and allowing input from the universe as well with your direction. So it's not just a one-man show, just fighting against the flow, trying to make things happen, but really working with the universe and having a little bit of give to what you're doing in order to like find the appropriate routes, if that makes sense. Or maybe even to, this is going to sound weird, but find the right opportunities for you, if that makes sense. I'm hesitant on this message, but I'll talk about it just in case it's helpful for you. But the other example really quickly, if you're like too rigid with people, just the right amount of softness or like warmth or compassion, even if you've had to develop a tougher exterior for whatever reason in any way, shape or form, or some type of like hardness towards others, just even as a boundary, the right amount of softness is going to be like the perfect balance for you, where you're able to connect more deeply, receive more from the universe and other people, potentially receive more warmth and love in your life and get into a better vibration with that, but also maybe even help others. Going back to what they were saying earlier though, because like you might have certain opportunities. They're showing me this shape. It's like shapes that these jellyfish could like fit into with the right amount of flexibility. And it's like, here's this shape that looks like a, I don't know, square. And it's like, if the jellyfish is too rigid, it won't fit into this opportunity. And not that you should ever like fit into things necessarily, which is why I don't like this analogy, but bear with me. It might be the perfect explanation, and I'm just, need to step out of the freaking way, which I don't feel like I'm in the way, but let's talk about it. He might have this like this shaped opportunity, or like an octagon or something. And the jellyfish, like if it's too rigid, it won't fit. But if it's flexible enough and squishy enough, it fits into the octagon shape and it plugs into like the perfect opportunity for it long term. And then it can kind of leave that at the right time and regain its normal shape and fit into the next opportunity. But if we're too rigid, we might be missing things that are actually for us because we think we won't fit, even though we could, or even though it would be the right fit. We just haven't I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like another analogy I could use would be like an electrical socket or like a power strip. This is going to be a weird one, so bear with me. It's like maybe you never used the bottom strip or the bottom electrical socket in your power strip, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't fit another thing if you plugged it in there. It's kind of weird. Like maybe you're like, I'm only going to use the top electrical outlet slots. That's the only one I'm going to use. And it's just like, okay, but you're missing out on this isn't the right analogy, but you're missing out on this opportunity down here because you're not seeing if you could fit more stuff. It's weird. But if I were to try to get a better analogy once again, it's like maybe you have some skills and talents that are kind of either untapped or you don't utilize them currently. And that could be seen as your like plug. And Spirit wants you to plug into this opportunity over here, but you're so rigid, like it's only got to be these two things. And that's the only thing that can plug in, that you're missing this plug down here with the perfect opportunity to plug it into to achieve success, for example, or bring in love or something like that, whatever it is. So being a little bit open to what the universe has in store for you instead of trying to either force your way or whatever could be really helpful for you right now. But it's also time to heal anywhere you're a little bit, if you're feeling like this is you, a little bit too hard with other people here. There is an example I was going to say, but I'm also getting it's not the right example. I'll say it just in case it helps someone else. But there's this one book, which I've actually found, like, when it comes to relationships and dating, operating intuitively and how I'm called to tends to work out a lot better than just like reading a book and trying to copy, paste, apply it to things. It just doesn't work for me or hasn't seemed to work for me in the past. But in the book, they talked about, and this is actually more geared towards masculine individuals, and probably is advice that was actually geared more towards straight men. So sorry, maybe this will apply to you anyways, or maybe this will be interesting. But the author of this book, who was a woman, talked about the ideal man for attractiveness, according to her, being a man who's like velvet and steel. So it's like, yeah, he can be soft and connect and genuine, but he's also strong, and he can have, I guess the example I would say is have healthy boundaries, and is not going to put up with like, stuff or like crap too much, and he'll like protect her, or whatever the common thing is that people talk about here. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever intentionally been like, oh, I'm going to try to act like this. Because I feel like when I hear examples and I try to just like act like that, it's like, it's not as genuine and authentic. And I'm not sure it works as well. So that I'm just like, I'm going to be so hard and steel and velvety. And then I just like, I don't know. But it kind of reminded me of that a little bit, where it's just like, yeah, you have strength to you, and you're strong, and you can make decisions. You can set boundaries. You can be frank with people. And you're not people pleasing to all heck, but you have compassion, you have love, you have warmth, and you can bring out the sides of you need to for the highest good that's appropriate for the situation. And responding intuitively could do this, because if you're operating intuitively, you might get like, okay, say no to this opportunity. I'm like, okay, be like, hey, like, go be there with your partner so they don't have to face this thing alone. Like, okay, you show up, and then say this to this person that's saying this to your partner. Like, okay, I'll say this. So I don't know, being intuitive could be a way to get there, if any of that's like interesting to you. Manifesting and becoming the highest and best you're meant to be could help you get to a place where you're maybe automatically more attractive is what I'd say, where you're on your soul missions. And I'm getting sidetracked here. But you kind of understand what I'm saying a little bit as far as what I should say, just to round this out and help you guys for the highest good. I think it actually, funny enough, is a message about rounding yourself out and making sure you're not leaning too far in one direction, but find that balance point that's right for you internally with who you are and how you operate in the world, and what you'll allow into your world as well from the universe, as opportunities or other things go. So that was a long-winded, hopefully that helped. And the way I said that was helpful and clicked for you. Next thing they're showing me is a tower. They're showing me it's not the Sears Tower anymore in Chicago, Illinois. It's the Willis Tower now, which I think most people dislike because they grew up with it being the Sears Tower or whatever. But let me see what the message is with this one here. So here's a reminder as advice to, and most of you probably don't have any issues with this, but just in case, seek to build the highest tower, not tear other people's towers down to have the tallest tower. If that makes sense. I've heard different people say certain like analogies like this, but it's kind of a reminder to like focus on making yourself and what you're putting in the world and your business and what you'd like to create for yourself the best it can be, without necessarily trying to tear down others' towers. Because it's better that you're being the best you can be and being that example. Maybe even helping some people build if you feel called, and establishing some camaraderie if it's for the highest good and it's right and it's the right fit. You don't have to force that. But at the very least, like it might not be good for you to be putting it out there like, oh, this person's building the tower, I'm going to tear this tower down so my tower is still the tallest. It's like, one, you're kind of maybe even stagnating when you do that, because you're not working on yourself and your craft and or whatever you're building or trying to establish in your life. You're outwardly focused, and it's like those people might be like putting in the work into their tower and building it. And even if you tear it down or take something from it, they could still build. And like, what are you really accomplishing? Plus you're not building up to be if it's something that's supposed to be of service to the world, be of greater service to people with the tower you're building. You're kind of too focused on what other people are doing. You're not maybe being as much of service as you could be by focusing on what you're building and creating. And yes, if you need to defend your tower, okay. Like if you want to get into all that, sure. But you kind of get what I'm saying with all that, if that makes sense. Like I'd be focusing on being your best self you can be, not trying to shoot other people down. But if it's business, like, you get it. You get the analogy, hopefully. This could also have to do with love life for some of you as well, though, where maybe you're really tempted to talk bad about other people, so people will choose you or something in conversation. And maybe that's even worked in the past, but the question is like, is that who you want to be? And is that the person you would like to date would like to date? Like, does that fit in with your ideal person's thing they would accept into their life as someone they'd like to date? Does that make sense? So it's, in some ways, this is about becoming your best self and shining as an example and attracting what's for you legitimately and in a healthy way that works for the highest good of all. Some of you might need that pep talk more than others, but just a reminder in case that's helpful to hear right now and anything like that. Next thing they're kind of getting to here, there is a lot of negative energy clearing, like from you, maybe even from your space, from around you. So if you just notice yourself emotionally shedding or something like that, like you're emotional, you don't know why, you're just driving in the car and Rihanna's blasting, and you're like, why am I crying? Like that's okay. Like, hang in there is what I'd say. And if you're actively clearing things, like keep that up, like keep purifying, stuff, or keep showing up for yourself to, what's the best way to say this here? Like, if you're the one who's kickstarting this, keep clearing stuff is what I'd say. I don't feel like I'm saying it right, but or like it's working is, I guess, what I'd say. Or keep setting intentions, keep doing your thing. It's just definitely time for negativity to leave, even if it's in your mind, even if it's just you and you're like, I need to get to a better place or something like that. Like, it is clearing. It's just be patient and hang in there, keep working on it. I feel like the universe is just clearing you, and that's like internally and externally of like negative energies. The interesting thing, they're showing me a skeleton next, but it's really interesting because it's almost like there's this example that I heard one time, and this kind of goes into different trajectories than I typically kind of talk about. But I feel like even if the framework this person had wasn't the right one for you, the situation or overall message could be applicable in some way. There was this one individual who perhaps was a bit more spiritual in a Christian sense, I guess you could say. This was a long time ago for me, and I wasn't like super close to this individual, but he was like a very elderly gentleman. He got really sick for like a long time, like a week or two. Like, it was a long time. It was before COVID. And at the end of the sickness, he's just like, it's really interesting because I feel like he got cleared out and like cleaned out, and he felt like he was just like a skeleton, not like literally just, oh, I'm emaciated, but because he wasn't, but it was more just like he felt cleaned out on the inside, or like spiritually, like he was just a skeleton, and God was going to like rebuild him or something like that. And maybe that wasn't even the case, but if you check it intuitively, or something similar, maybe it was more like mental, emotionally rebuilding. I don't know. But what reason I'm saying this is like, this could apply to you with the clearing. Like, maybe some of you in some ways feel like you're being stripped bare, metaphorically, not like you're losing everything in your life or anything like that, but, and like, it's like you're going to be rebuilt back better. I've never actually seen this movie. I need to drink some water. But it reminds me of this scene that I think I just saw it somewhere. Maybe it was on the TV in the background, or maybe it showed up on TikTok. I'm like, oh, what's this? And I just watched this scene of this movie, but I think it's like Alita Battle Angel was like the movie, which honestly might be a bit more violent than this crowd typically. I don't want to put that. Maybe you love violent movies, but I know some of you probably just are very not drawn to violent movies, and I totally understand. I'm typically not so much as more myself anymore, but there's a scene where I think she like, because the whole premise is the main character, I think, is like an android of some type, so her body is like entirely robotic. And like at one point it gets like destroyed in this like fight where she was fighting one of the antagonists, and so then she has to get like a replacement like android body that, is part of the plot, where then she becomes like her full expression of herself and more superpowered because she got her authentic like body that was meant for her or something like that. And maybe some of you, probably not literally, this isn't happening to you, of course, but figuratively or metaphorically in some level, like that's been happening, or you might see that happening, or maybe you are being built back right now. And I feel like that's like a necessary process if that's happening, to build you back to your highest and best like authentic self, or a higher expression of you. It's not like there's anything wrong with what came before, or what came before in your life, if you felt like it was something in your life. It's just that there's something better that's meant for you, and you got what you needed probably from the thing that was torn down, or the structure torn down, whatever it is that this is symbolizing for you. So being built back better, I suppose, is one of the messages that's coming in. If you find yourself being cleaned out, or if you notice a lot of energies leaving and you're not sure what's coming in to replace that quite yet, or you notice like certain things being torn down in life, which has been a message the past couple months, is just big shifts and changes, things leaving, better things coming in and stuff. But I feel like this is more personal for you, and very like it's going to be more personal for you potentially, or in your personal world. They're saying that's enough, you get it. So, okay. Next thing they're showing me for this reading here for you guys here, there was like a lion, but it was like a fire lion. It looked like something straight out of Pokemon or something like that here. And it's like time to harness your fire. And it's like time to get fired up and like take action for you guys is what I'd say. And you know, like if you're someone who got messages to rest and like one of the other readings, in between your resting or when you feel like ready to go, like put things into action, you know, around your self-care, you know, for example, or do your best not to like put things off too much. Because I feel like things are really coming alive for you in big ways. Like there might be a lot of excitement, a lot of good things. And it might be time to put the pedal to the metal in certain areas in your life for sure. And that's awesome. And do your best to like keep that fire alive, keep it stoked, stay passionate. And your self-care could be part of you keeping your fire alive, so you don't like burn out because you just worked and you're like, I can't work anymore. Me no want to do nothing. And then like 6 months go by and you didn't do anything. But if you kind of taken the self-care to sustain yourself in between doing all the work, then you would have been able to keep showing up consistently, which would have been potentially more effective and healthier for you and, you know, whoever you're working with, or if you have an audience, like the audience you're working for, etc. So there's, let me see what they'd like to get to next for you about that. I don't know. They're just saying it's time to get fired up. You'll have reasons for that. And weird message, I would be doing things to stay motivated or listening to people that keep you accountable and motivated and help you move forward. And there's like certain people that I'll listen to or started listening to, and it's like maybe they're not spiritual. At the same time, I might not need to listen to a bunch of spiritual people because I channel, you know, and do this work myself, and I'm at a place where it's like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but most people are probably not at the place where they can help me. Unless they're at a really high level. Not saying that people who aren't at a high level can't help me in other ways or say something I need to hear or any, like, you know, might be moments of that. But there's a certain point for me where my guides are going to tell me everything I need to hear, or they'll guide me to what I need to listen to. And I don't need a constant like inundation of more people's spiritual perspectives if they're not at least on my level. At the same time, like if I go to listen to certain business coaches, or if there's an area I want to improve for myself that's more specific, that someone's really great at coaching with or helping with, like maybe it's marketing, maybe it's business, maybe it's and by the way, I do still listen to some spiritual people. You know, there's the people that I still have as go-tos here and there or listen to, but and if that person is like helpful, but they're also bringing something in the words they're saying or the energy or the way they're approaching things that's motivating me to take more action, like that's perfect. So, you know, as an example from my own life. So if you have people like that you notice you're more motivated to take the right actions after listening to, probably if that's resonating for you and helping you and it works for you and you notice good things from it, keep that up is what I'd say. Or keep plugging things that are motivating you into your world so you have that input and you can turn that into outputs, is what I'd say that's helpful for you, whether it's spiritual or not. And I don't know, maybe you get fired up when you watch those weird old Greg videos, the weird swamp dude. And I don't know. I don't care if it's old Greg. That is your motivation to continue and get fired up. Go watch old Greg. And I used to find those videos funny, but I tried to rewatch them recently. I'm like, it's not for me anymore. It's too weird. Not too weird, but you know, it just didn't quite fit with my sense of humor as much. That more recent go around I've tried to watch it. I feel like that's kind of it for this reading. I hope that helped and resonated. I think there's a little bit more though before we keep going. Maybe you want to embody some of the attributes that are attributed to the fire signs a bit more right now, like being fiery, being fired up in a healthy way, in a balanced way. Maybe you also have fire somewhere else in your chart, but I feel like that's going to be helpful for you. The good news as well for you guys, confidence is growing is what I'd heard. Especially if you're taking action, you're going to be building confidence towards things. An example they want to talk about is, the first time I might show up to give a channeled reading on TikTok or show up for a live, I might be a little nervous. I'm like, oh, is this going to resonate? Is this going to help people? And I might still be guided to do it, but there's still that like thing comes up and, but by like the third year, it's like, you keep getting the feedback, it's resonating for people, it's helpful. And maybe that voice comes up sometimes, but you're going to be more confident, like, okay, I know I'm getting messages. I know it's resonating. I know it's helpful. I know I can trust this. I know I can keep going with this. I know this is going to be good. And you have that confidence built up where you have an easier time showing up in the world, whether that takes a day, that takes a week, that takes months, or that takes years, whatever that takes for you. Sometimes if you're trying to build confidence, I remember watching a video where the phrase was like demonstrated competency builds confidence. I think there's something to that. Maybe there's something else that's more like etheric and unlimited and, we can just step into our knowing and be confident. And maybe that's a thing. And at the same time, I think there is something to that other piece where if you're showing up and you're doing it and you can do it and you can do it time and time again, eventually you're going to feel a lot better about showing up and doing it, like that and stuff. I was going to give an example, but it was a bit more rated R, so I might not give that example and stuff like that. I don't know. No. Okay. I probably should have. They're telling me to, but I'm sorry. I missed. I whiffed out on that one. Dedicated to competency builds confidence. Ooh, I like that. I guess they're done though. So I hope that helped, resonated, whatever's for you guys good. The last thing they were showing me was like a cloud here. And they're showing it like raining opportunity for you guys. You might have to leave some things behind to venture towards some of the new opportunity, but maybe not is actually something I'm getting as well. So it might depend on some of you. I think it's going to be raining opportunities soon though. So that's cool. Like the next few months to a year, like you'll notice a lot more. I feel like you've earned this, or it's just time, you're ready for it. It's, so that's it. I hope that helps. What I was going to say, it was something along the lines of like, when you're, why am I so hesitant about this? But when you're like 18 or you're younger, or if you haven't really done the deed before and you're like dating someone and then you're like, oh, I don't know, can I do this? Is it going to go well? Do I ask this person out? Like you're just maybe potentially a bit less confident if you've never done it before and like the experience you're heading into it. As opposed to when you've like dated someone for a while and you know what to expect and you know if you're doing a good job or not and all that. So that was my example. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome for the orange package, by the way. I really hope that helps, does whatever's for the highest good. Truly, genuinely makes an impact for sure. It's a perfect example. Yeah, it is. Maybe I just had my own things to get over saying that in the public forum. Are there business coaches you would recommend? Okay, here's a couple I would talk. So actually, like Lee Harris, who's the channeler I recommend, he does have some business like courses or resources he's put out that could be very helpful for you. Plus, he's had a good vibration and he's been doing it for like a few decades and he's got really good results. He's very successful with it. So that could be someone you look at for some, I know he's not like a coach, but some business like training and things like that. And you know, I sometimes I hesitate to throw names out there because it's like I might be excited about it, but I'm just like, oh, is there some like story lurking in the backdrop about this person's reputation that I shouldn't recommend them or something? I don't feel like this is the case, but for marketing, I do actually like Brendan Burchard. I know he's like a huge name in that field, but I actually have found things he said helpful, or even things that if I approach someone, like, because sometimes he'll ask these like questions about like one of them was like, what do you want your day to be? Like, do you want your day to be like sadness, anger, anxiety, just the same old thing going through the motions? Or do you want it to be joy? Do you want it to be happiness? Do you want it to be like, you know, heading towards your targets? Do you want it to be, you know, connection with your loved ones? Like sometimes like even like questions like that I've seen have been like really helpful for me. Cause I'm like, oh, like it just kind of switches something. We're like, yeah, what do I want this day to be? And then like if you approach it intuitively on top of that, and your guides are like, oh, it could be like this, or like, okay, so what would be best for my days to be like? And you get this. You're like, oh, now I have some direction with that. So, but I like a lot of his content, and I feel like I'm not sure if he totally comes from a good place, but a good enough place, maybe at least, or at least it's helpful. Thank you for saying you won't judge me based off the others, because I know that's kind of a tricky area sometimes. But he's definitely not like a spiritual like coach or anything like that, or he's not like this is for conscious people, but he does often talk about like being of service with what you're putting out there and things like that. So could be helpful. Those are, I don't know if I have too many more, if I'm being honest. Spirit guides, I guess. Helpful as always. You're welcome. Sometimes less is more. Totally. So I'm going to be honest, I'm a little torn on doing the full channel mode message or not for this live. I actually think I'm going to skip it this time. We wouldn't hold you responsible for people with potentially lurking stories. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. One, I always want to be honorable with my suggestions and make sure it's going to be something that's helpful for you guys and all that stuff. But I think I get worried about that. How do I connect with my intuition? Well, that is a topic to delve into. So a couple things I could say if you're just getting started here. And for those of you who've been with me, you probably know some of the things I'm going to say, at least here. Oh, thank you, Marina. Sorry, what was I going to say? Oh, accessing your intuition. So one, you're probably going to want a method with which to practice your intuition, or maybe even like a tool or modality. So you might be drawn to oracle cards or tarot cards as a way to practice your intuition. And I'm not done fleshing this out, so hold on. As a way to practice every day, like pulling a card, like, oh, am I getting an intuitive message or visual or something like that? I very often am guided to and will, based on my personal experience, also recommend, if you haven't already, learning something like Reiki, or an energy healing modality that resonates for you, because the attunements that you get as part of taking the classes really open you up and can really uncover your latent gifts and abilities and help rewire you to be intuitive. It can really open up your energy sensitivity and awareness beyond that as well, and help you to open and grow and expand your intuition. Plus the energy healing sessions themselves, if you're giving yourself sessions, can open you up further and really open that up. You can even be targeted with the self sessions you're doing and be like, okay, I'm going to do this self session to open my intuition and to help my intuition. Thanks so much. And either if you get to a certain level, you can do distance sessions right away, but it's easier once you probably know what you're doing with it. But you learn that in energy healing modalities usually is some form of distance method, where you could do it for your distance, like a distance session set up just to target your intuition. You could do it just third eye and, things associated with the intuition, with the intention to help your intuition baked in with the session. You could open it up that way. The other reason I really like energy healing modalities as a way to help grow intuition, not that it's the only thing and the only way and the only necessity, is when you're showing up in facilitating sessions for yourself or other people, you also have the opportunity to practice your intuition each time, because you're often in a state where you, like a lot of times people do sessions and they get messages for the person while doing the session, or they take note of messages they get during the session that they can talk about with that person afterwards. Or at the other thing is you're also typically, if you're approaching it intuitively, guided through the session at a certain point as you grow and develop, and as your intuition grows and develops or is opened up more. And you get to practice working with your intuition that way through the session and what you're getting for that person as ways to talk about it. And if you're going to like Reiki shares, or if you're have friends you can practice with, or other classmates or something like that, then you really have all these opportunities to practice getting better. If you're drawn to like energy healing as an energy healer, but also as an intuitive, which you can take and then apply if you want to the other methods you have practicing, like tarot cards, oracle cards. And because once you can get an intuitive message doing a session, you can probably get an intuitive message pulling a card, and things like that. So, and then showing up consistently to practice it and holding that space open with, to receive those intuitive messages. If you're drawn towards channeling, sometimes what people talk about is like showing up every day and just, I heard this from Lee Harris first, but not necessarily the way I learned to channel, but I have done a lot of channeled writing, and that's something I've done to practice channeling a lot, or not even just practice, but to do it. And you can just show up and be like, okay, what does my soul want to tell me? And then you just sit. And you might get it right away, but you just be like, okay, am I hearing any words? Like, am I feeling compelled to write anything? Am I getting any visuals on like messages? Am I feeling like a knowing? And I'm like, oh, I need to write this. That might not be the way the knowing shows up, but you just know something, you just write it down, for instance, and then something along those lines. And then like you showing up and doing that, one, if you're doing that every day or consistently, you're getting practice with it. Two, number two, where is it at? Number two? Oh, if you like don't get anything right away, like that's okay, because you're practicing getting in the frequency of getting channel messages, or in the frequency of receiving intuitive messages, even if you're just starting. So it's kind of this weird thing, like maybe you might say something similar to like it's riding a bike. Like you might not get it right away. You might just be like, oh, this happened. Oh my God, I'm intuitive. Oh, I got this message and it meant this, and then I was right. And oh my God, like that can happen. And that's usually can be part of the journey at certain points. But if you're newer and you're just trying to get it off the ground, expanding your energies, working on yourself energetically is going to be helpful. But, once you get it and have that experience, kind of like riding the bike, it's like you get it, or at least you get the start of it, and you can kind of start to learn and expand your intuition from your own based on what you're getting. So in some ways it could just be like showing up until it happens and then going from there. And that might sound lame, but you got to start somewhere. If I'm being honest, there might be exercises you find from other people that help to expand intuition and awareness that you could practice as well. There's other resources potentially as well, but you might have to go on your journey to grow your intuition and keep showing up with that, and allow the universe to potentially guide you through the resources you need, the people, the teachers, the experiences that teach you how to work with your intuition, in order to get to where you'd like to go, or where you're supposed to go, is what I'd say. I think I kind of overkilled that answer, but hopefully that helps as a starting place. Oh yeah, thanks for answering that, Marina. That about the distance session. So I hope that helped. Was a good starting place for those of you who wanted to hear about that. Honestly, for your answer, Prince Priestess, you said, what do you do if you know your guides work through you, but you can't talk to them how you want? This might be a lame answer, but honestly, keep expanding it until it happens. There was a period of time in my life where I knew it would happen and I knew I could hear them. And there were definitely times where it would like perk up. Like if I was supposed to channel for someone, it'd be like, boom, here you go. But then I'd like go through the rest of, there was a period of time where like, I wouldn't always feel like I was like always getting the messages 24/7. Or just like whenever I wanted to, you know, and it really just took continually expanding and growing it and showing up until it expanded into that, and like asking for more of that and manifesting it. I know you might be sick of hearing that with that, but for that to really start to pop off, it really just kept me continuing to show up and trust that process, and putting myself in situations where I would channel for someone or being guided to that, where I might even be forced to, not forced, where it's like against my will, but forced to channel for someone. Not that I was like, I'm going to sign up for this event and say I'm going to channel, but I don't know if I can. It was more like, you know, what's the best way to say this? I don't know, doing readings for a friend, or like finding yourself in a public situation where your guides want to say something to someone and you're supposed to, and then it really opens up and you get that practice and experience. So I guess working on yourself could also lead into it. I don't forget where I was going with that. I think I kind of need to end that. Hopefully that helps as another starting place. I know that's not like a fun, like, oh yes, here's XYZ step-by-step process to grow your intuition from that stage. But I really did it by showing up, expanding myself, asking for that to happen and trusting it could show up, you know, at the right time. Or maybe you'll have a different way of like you hearing from your guides. If, like maybe you'll get intuitive visuals from them instead of like clairaudience or claircognizant knowings, but then it expands. So definitely start with what you have, you know, for starters is what I'd say. And really, if you haven't been practicing, I would try to in some way that works for you. That is the way that is working for you right now or shows up for you. Not at all. You're the teacher's teacher. Authentic Mystic called you the reader's reader. Oh, that's a really big, if that was for me, then thank you. That's a really big compliment. I really appreciate that. Oh, you're so welcome, Prince Priestess. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Jessica Johnson, for clarifying that. I really appreciate that. But that means so much, and that's I appreciate that. I will definitely keep showing up the best I can. And maybe that's not the best way for me to say that, but that means a lot. And yeah, I'll answer this. Brandon, how old were you when your channels were clear? So it's interesting because I get that. Okay, I wasn't like channeling like I am now my whole life. Like how it's showing up now for me. Maybe I was in some other ways. But like I heard like when I was a child, but I think like really this happened more recently. Because I really discovered consciously channeling around the time I was 25. Honestly, I'm 31 now. So, and I've put a lot of work into it, by the way. I went hard, but it's definitely something like when people ask that question, I mean, your question is a bit more specific, but when people ask like, how long have you been channeling? My guides will always usually interject and be like, oh, he's been channeling like his whole life. Well, they'll say it to me, but for them, like, oh, he's been channeling his whole life. So it's something I might've been doing my whole life without realizing it. But as far as doing this, how I am nowadays with like showing up consciously, it's like, you know, accessible pretty much all the time, if not all the time. Never mind, all the time. They're clarifying. Really, that showed up because it showed up first 25. After a couple of years, it was like, oh, here's like full channel mode. Like, you know, I could start to do that. And then like, you know, over the next couple, you know, the next year, it was like, okay, I'm receiving a lot of messages for like channeled writing and receiving more guidance in my life. I'm receiving more, you know, I'm not totally telling the story perfectly actually, but definitely around 20, I'd say it really, 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 really shot up 2019, 2020 is what I'd say, where I was like, oh, I'm getting the messages as consistent. And it was always accurate before when I was like practicing or working with it or doing energy healing sessions, you know, things like, you know, it just kept getting better and more consistently there. as far as like very clear now, I'd say like I got closer to where I am now around 2019, 2020. It really skyrocketed up and shot up in a big way. And then I guess I've been progressing ever since. So I don't know if that answers that, but awesome, Prince Priestess. Good luck with that. You are welcome, and I will see you in the future, hopefully. I will, I'm getting, so I'm not going to worry about that. But yeah, good to see you for sure. I second what Marina said. Okay, so I think, I might hang out for just a second more. Before I sign out, though, I just wanted to mention, if you ever want to go, most of you here by now still probably familiar with my work, but in case you want to go further with my work, I do have a monthly membership you can sign up for with monthly long format full channel mode messages, which I know I didn't do today, but you can look on YouTube for some more examples of that, or at the ends of these lives we posted on YouTube, I have more examples of that. Channel guided meditations every month, depending on the level you sign up for, and channeled readings like this on every month ahead. So if you're drawn to that, there's other perks too, like a lot of exclusive discounts and things like that. That's available through my website, or you can find it in the link in bio as well. I have channeled MP3s that I'm launching or have launched. I have a few available now that are available more to the public for purchase, like the red package, which is 3 MP3s, channeled MP3s designed to, heal, balance deeply your root chakra, manifestability, and really take a deep dive into transforming that area and the correlated areas of life with that. There's also like a channel guided exercise on help, that you can put on every day to help create the SMS day for you. And it's meant to be something you put on when you wake up to start improving the quality of your days, over time, but you could show up right away too, but over time for sure. So that's something you could check out if you're interested in. And I'm definitely launching, if you're part of the newsletter, you might have already seen the email, but I have a new thing coming out called the Orange Package for the Sacral Chakra that's available to newsletter people now. I think in the next week, newsletter people get a $10 discount for that one. And so if you sign up to the newsletter, which is free, by the way, and I do channel messages a month ahead every month, 2 channel advice every week right now too, that I'm sending out. You'll get a discount link for that in the next couple of days for the Orange Package if you're interested. But that's it as far as what I'm going to talk about right now. I do have other classes I teach, but not something they want me to talk about right now. So, thank you, Andy Pandy Pie. I really appreciate the shout outs, and you too, Divine Healing. Tea Time VA asks, what do I feel created the last few years' momentum for channeling the Healing Collective? Maybe the work I put into it, or what I hear first and foremost. Because I do feel like it's something I've got a message from other people like, yes, I'm pre-wired to do it. I'm supposed to be doing it. It's definitely something I'm meant to be doing, or I wouldn't be doing it. Whether it changes how it shows up in the future or not. And so I guess in some ways it was learning to uncover that, grow and expand it. But I was also, when I say I was going hard, there might have been days where I didn't go as hard as others, but I was constantly channeling symbols I was getting, channeling messages, constantly trying to access my intuition for every choice, everything, which drove some people nuts at that time of my life. But I really, really getting into it. And so yeah, it could be that was just what was destined to happen for me. I was meant to do it, and it was meant to come online at that time. Sure. And that was what I was driven towards, what I was being pushed to by my spirit team. Definitely. So maybe it was a divine timing thing too. And definitely something I was meant to have, something I'm getting. It was also, it wasn't it just, appeared out of nowhere, with what I was doing. So I was constantly energy healing, making intuitive choices, using my body pendulum, using pulling cards for people, pulling cards for situations, asking my guides about things, channeling messages for myself, channeling symbols for a modality I was bringing through, channeling this, channeling, so I think a lot of it can just be putting a lot of work into it, which I know sounds like the boring answer, but sometimes that is part of it. So, if you're called to put a lot of work into it, that could definitely be part of it as well here. And it can be the work you're doing for others and like what you're meant to be doing for others too. And being upgraded for that, but could be a combination of both. So hopefully that's helpful though. I think that's, as far as like the explanation I was getting to give though, that was definitely a part of what I was getting to say about it. I really hope the orange package makes a big impact for the highest good for you, Andy Pandy Pie, and with ease and joy, for sure. Marina asks, can we disappoint Spirit with our slow progress? I get no. Spirit knows what path we're on. Spirit typically knows what you're going to choose, if not always knows what you're going to choose, in every situation. It always kind of knows. So it also knows the reasons behind the slow progress. Might there be some situations sometimes where Spirit's like, yeah, come on, move faster. It'd really help you. It'd be good for you. Yeah, but I wouldn't say Spirit's ever like disappointed or judging you. If your spirit guides show you disappointment, it could just be to give you a message, yeah, you should choose differently next time, or, something like that. And they're saying, yes, exactly. So I feel good about that answer too. Well, that's the answer they wanted me to say, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'd say about that. Hope that helps. It's also the training for the right perspective alignment for thought patterning. It takes work. That could definitely be part of it. And that might be helpful advice too as well. TTVA, tea time TVA, if that resonates for you. Jack, I'm getting yes. Been seeing way more orange cards than usual since yesterday. So sorry, tell me. Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's always so funny when I'm thinking about facilitating like the creation of the packages or like launching them, because like all the orange, like for the orange package, orange started showing up everywhere for me too. Like all of a sudden, like I just find myself like I'm thinking about the orange package and then like I'm kind of zoning out, and then I focus my eyes. I'm like, oh, I'm just staring at this orange covered book, or like the or I'm like scrolling through TikTok and there's some woman in an orange dress, or something like that. So it's funny, the synchronicity with all that. Cool. Yeah. And hope that helps. I feel like you'll get there. You might also need to find your own way. Maybe it will be different than mine. Maybe it will show up differently, or the path to get there is, well, what's the right thing to say? It might just be different in some ways, and that's like, okay, you definitely have like your own journey and you'll get there, Spirit will get you there. Just also be ready for Spirit to bring you the experiences that open that up, and be ready to say yes to opportunities that might stretch you a little bit, to help open you up, I suppose you could say as well, or give you what you need for that. The spiritual growth is way easier than the business side of intuitive services. Yeah, it's its own venture of personal growth. I've heard people say in some ways it really can hit on a lot of the human stuff sometimes we need to let go of or work through. But yeah, I understand. It can be a whole different ballgame. Yeah, it's interesting because divine healing, you're saying, I feel slow in my progress. And they're like, you're doing great. Don't worry about it. Okay, guys, I think I'm at my time to step away from the live today. But I wanted to say I really appreciate you guys being here. I really appreciate getting to do this for you. I really appreciate all the awesome feedback you guys give me. That's not that you have to do this, but that lets me know I'm helping you, gives me helpful perspectives on what I'm doing. I also so appreciate your receiving so much that's for the highest good from me and the work. So I appreciate you guys. I love getting to do this for you. I'm sending love from Source your way as well. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to go live next week. I'll let you guys know. I'll post about it, but we'll see what happens. And thank you. Okay. So I need to sign off. So you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the future. Okay.